Okay. It is 7:30 p. Okay, it is 7:30 p.m. I call to order the regular meeting of the Oradell Zoning Board of Adjustment. It is August 19th, 2024. Notice of this meeting was published in the official newspaper, prominently posted in Borough Hall, and filed with the clerk's office in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting is a quasi-judicial proceeding. Decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must always be maintained. Any questions and comments must be limited to issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision. I'll do a roll call. We have, let's see, Mr. Barrows is absent. Mr. Bartlett is absent. Mr. Devine?
Here.
Okay. Ms. Zadinsky?
Here.
Mr. Camporielli? No, absent. Ms. Day?
Here.
Mr. Santaniello?
Here.
Ms. Cobb?
Here.
And Mr. Michaelman here. Okay. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, approval of the zoning board meeting minutes for May 20th, 2024. Does anybody have any comments on the minutes as submitted to you? Not then, may I have a motion to accept the minutes as submitted?
Also move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Those minutes are done. Correspondence is listed in the agenda. Okay, they're available in Steve's office if anybody wishes to review the correspondence. The zoning board procedures. I see we've got a full house today. Many of you, this is your first time here. What happens is someone wants to do something with their property. They go to Steve's office and ask for a permit. If it's permitted by the zoning ordinances, they get their permit. If not, he denies it, but under certain circumstances specified in the municipal land use law, they can appeal. They come to the zoning board of adjustment. The burden of proof is on the applicant. It's not on us to say why they shouldn't get it. It's up to them to tell us why they should. They put forward proofs, as it's called, to explain their circumstances and why, under the municipal land use law, they are permitted to get this variance. They put the case on. The zoning board questions them. Our professionals question them. Members of the public then can question the witness only about their testimony. I know there are times when you feel you've looked it over and you've got the thing that you can say that's going to break the case open. You got to wait until the proper time. You know, I hate to say to somebody, to wait, but I will. I don't want to be rude, but I will be if I have to be. Please don't put me in that position. Now, after the first witness, the second witness, so on, so right on down the line. At the end of the case, the applicant makes their closing statement. We listen to it. Members of the public can make closing statements as well. That's the point, to come in and break the case open, not during the questioning of the witnesses, unless it's something the witness said that you have to, challenge or have them elaborate. Then we vote on it. If they get a majority vote, or in the case of a D application, a D variance, they have to have at least 5 votes in the affirmative. If we say yes, they've got their variance. If we say no, they don't. These cases still can go to court. People can still appeal our decisions. We currently have a case in court right now. So that's where we stand. I ask for everybody's indulgence and politeness. We listen respectfully. We don't catcall. I know I don't. Let me put it that way. Okay. Swearing in of Steve Depkin and the borough professionals, please.
We may have done some of them already on the United Way one, but we'll do them
Yeah,
again.
because we've got the other 2
You
cases.
swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding shall be true, so help you God.
I do.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Depkin, Mr. Atkinson, and Ms. Ryder have been duly sworn.
Okay. No new cases will be started after 10:30. That's obvious. We have 3 cases. I've allotted 1 hour apiece. What I'm hoping is the first 2 cases will take less than an hour, and whatever time they don't use will go to the 3rd case. So if you're wondering why I've done it in this order, that's the simple reason. Okay, with that, There's no resolutions, so I'll call calendar 877-24 Miller, 425 First Street. Come forward.
Mr. Chairman, I've been advised that the notices are in order on this application.
Great, thank you.
There you go.
I think you could use that chair.
I'm going to be real short.
Okay. I want you to, make sure you speak into the microphone now.
Oh, you got the last row.
Hello, board members. My name is Richard Joel Jr., and I'll be representing the Millers on their application. And they've lived at 425 First Street for 10 years, and they have 3 young daughters, and they've run into a situation that they're running out of room in their house, and they want to reconfigure it on the second floor. So they're going to want to add a bedroom on the second floor above a living room that has nothing above it, and then add a small mud room that's 6 by 10 by 7. So they need one variance on this application. It'll be for floor area ratio, 306.5 square feet over the maximum allowed. They also had 2 other issues. It was lot coverage in the attic. They took care of the lot coverage, the removing pavers to comply with what the town code is. And for the attic, they signed a notarized letter indicating they're not going to use it as habitable space, which was required by the building department. So for my witnesses tonight, I'll have the designer Kenya Lama testify and the architect Stan Kufel.
Mr. Joe, who should I swear first? Who's your first witness?
Me.
Mr.
Stan
Kufel,
Kufel.
you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding shall be true, self God?
I do.
And for the record, state your full name, please, and spell your last name.
Stanley J. Kufel Jr., and I have testified to this board many times.
He's previously been qualified numerous times.
And we do accept you as an expert witness.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kufel, you're familiar with the Millers property at 425 First Street?
Yes, I am very much familiar, not only as the architect, but also as a firefighter.
Okay. And have you worked on a plan to renovate the property with Kenya Lama?
Yes, we together have put together the plan that's in front of you and also up on the screen, and we have addressed the issues.
All right, so there were 3 sets of A1, A2, and A3, these plans, and you signed off on these plans?
That's correct. They, where we're at with the plans at this date meet the codes to the state of New Jersey.
And with respect to the survey of the property, are you the one that indicated the pavers that are to be removed?
I will refer that to Kenya. She decided by walking the site that that was the best way to.
Mr. Joe, are we marking anything?
It was all submitted with the application.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
And the survey was included as well.
Yes, it was.
And I think the issue with the survey, you have it shaded and I guess it looks like an orange color. That's the area where the pavers would be removed to bring their coverage into compliance.
Yep.
Do you want to take a look at the survey first and go through that, and then the architectural plans, or
Okay.
just deciding what you want up on the screen?
The plans are up, so we'll go through the plans. Okay. Do you want to walk us quickly through the plans?
I'll refer it to Kenya for that.
We need to swear her in. I probably should
It
have
needs to
done
be
that
sworn.
earlier.
Correct.
You swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding shall be true, self you got. And just state your full name and spell your last name for the
Maria
record.
Eugenia Lama. Kenya Lama.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so what we're showing here is the existing.
Hold the microphone.
Whoa.
No, not that. Right in front
There's
of
a
you.
hand up.
There we go.
I haven't been here in a while. So, what we are showing is the existing floor plans, the first floor plan on the left and the second floor plan on the right. And what I really wanted to pinpoint in the first floor, we are asking to add a bathroom. And honestly, it's really hard to reconfigure what they already have as in the first floor to add that bathroom, because I don't know if you can see here, but that door to the right of the family room that enters in the middle of the room.
She's over
basically.
here
So even if I try to reconfigure the space, I will be killing the whole room, because you need at least space for a bench, another 36 to 42 inches for a space to walk in front of it, and another wall. So basically, even if I try, it's hard. So the only way to do this properly would be to put it outside.
Excuse me? Could you
Yes.
please turn the microphone on?
It's off.
On the
Okay.
bottom, it should.
Do you know how this works?
That should be,
Sorry, nobody's complaining, so I kept going.
Yeah, well, I heard you.
I'm pretty loud.
Like,
Yeah, better?
no.
You gave me one that doesn't work.
Hold on a second, Steve is going to check it.
See, this is good. And they said only,
Now? Sorry.
It should be on.
No?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear it.
oh, now I hear it.
On. Maybe I should talk closer. Yeah, better? Okay. So that's the reason why we are asking for this space on the first floor to be added, because truly I couldn't figure out a way to do it properly without ruining the whole room on the back, as you can see it. That's the place they really need it. On the second floor, if you look at the second floor, the house seems to have master bedroom. Sorry, we don't say master anymore. So a primary bedroom with a primary bathroom, and then it's supposed. It seems like it has 3 extra bedrooms, but when you look at the bedrooms, one is 7 feet 10 wide. Basically, I think probably they have their crib initially, and then the 3 girls starts growing, and still in the 7 foot 10 wide bedroom, and then the other 2 bedrooms are connected with each other. And basically, it seems like they have 2 bedrooms, but in reality, they only have one that is connected through a corridor. And there's no way I can add a door without a wall to separate them, because you couldn't even get to the last room, because it would be, even if I try to go through the parents' bedroom, you can't get to that room without having to add to the square footage of the house. So we've tried, and if you also see on the last bedroom, it doesn't even have a closet. The closets are less than 24 inches deep, which means when you put the clothes in there, everything gets squished, and you close the door, and things get ruined. So there is a lot of deficiencies to the second floor that, with the square footage that they already have, cannot work properly. I've tried many times. Also, if you look at the laundry room, you're entering the laundry room from a bedroom. So I don't know how you make this work, Caroline, but this is insane to me. She probably is doing laundry, her daughter screaming at her, "Mom, get out of my bedroom." Then the other girl comes from the other bedroom. This is mayhem. I'm sure that's the situation in your house right now. So all we are asking to do is to add 1 more bedroom for the parents. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do on the second drawing. So basically what we want to do is add on the existing foundations, on the existing first floor walls that are already there, not to increase any pervious surface, also not to create any extra volumes to intrude in this yard, and also because it's behind the house. If you look at the house has this rectangular shape, and this structure is going to be almost behind it. So from the street, it doesn't even look as if we're doing too much more to it. But what we're doing is we're adding a bedroom, a primary bedroom, that it's actually, I forgot, but it's 1210. So we are not even adding a massive primary bedroom, because 1210 is on the smaller side. And they're getting a walk-in closet and a proper laundry room, which is not even that big either. And then they're getting 3 bedrooms. So we're not adding an extra bathroom, and the only thing we're adding is an extra bedroom. And we are keeping the bathroom for the girls where it used to be, on the corner of the house. I'm just adding 1 extra sink because there's 3 girls. And on the left side, they are getting their primary bathroom that is gonna be connected to their bedroom. And that's about it. So the bedrooms that we are developing here are not even that big either. So if you want to go back for a second, the girls' bedrooms are 11 foot 6. They are 10. They're not creating too much. We are not even creating a really big bedroom. So they're having something super reasonable for the house that they have, and for the function they need, and for the overall health of the lot and where they live. She walks with her girls 2 blocks to go to school. So I wouldn't want her to leave the neighborhood, really. She's a second generation Oradellian, and her mom still lives here, and I just don't want her to move. She's also my friend, so I don't want her to move. She's like, I'm buying another house. I'm like, no, you're not. So we've been going back and forth. She wanted more things, many more things, and I said, you won't be able to get it. And that's why I said to her, let's look at the site plan, let's remove the pavers, let's show good faith to the board that we are not asking for any crazy things here. We're just asking for one extra bedroom. If you look at the floor, the elevations, next page.
Yes.
Sorry.
Easy.
House is a stucco house, and this is going to be a good opportunity to, we're going to change all the windows, and we're going to add to those peaks on the front to make it. Right now, it's a little bit of a boxy house. I'm sure you saw the pictures, and I'm sure you as board members went to the house and took a look at it. It's just bringing the house a little bit more, more playful in terms of what it used to be there. So we're adding something that it's gonna look nice, and it's gonna actually look like nothing really happened. I'm very good at doing that. It's just sometimes you see the houses that I intervene, and from the front, most people's like, oh, you didn't do anything, but I'm proud of that, because then, you just didn't ruin what was already there. So basically, where we're adding a small, and you can see it on the left side, that's where the addition is, right there. If you can point at it, Steve, thank you. And that's it.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, do you think this improves the functionality of the house a lot?
Oh, 100%. If
And
you don't have square footage, I can't. They can't have that many
Okay,
bedrooms.
if you could sit down, put the microphone down, and use that one.
Okay.
You don't have to, just just talk into it. Now,
Yeah, it's just
you can
we
leave it on.
can
You can leave
we
it on.
can improve the functionality without the extra square footage.
yeah,
We
I guess the other option would be just moving if you couldn't renovate, I guess.
Well, that's what she's trying to do. I'm like, no, please, don't
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and do you believe it's a nice upgrade for the property, increasing value and everything?
100%. 100%, because there's a lot of square footage on the first floor, and the person that lived there before was a single male, and he wanted to have this sprawling first floor, and it's great, but for a family of 5, the second floor is completely behind where the house, they didn't add to it on the second floor, they only added on the first floor, so yes,
And this improvement would just harmonize with the neighborhood?
100%.
Okay, and do you believe
Can I
that?
just add one thing to that? This is the first house on First Street on the left side. The backyard is the 30-foot setback of Hackensack Water Company property, which is overgrown and all trees. And the next house is fairly almost same in design and character like the rest of First Street. I think that as far as design and what occurred really fits in with this house completely, and it really works really well. As you know, we're here for an FAR variance, and that's pretty much it.
And do you think the property was handicapped since it was an irregular lot? If it was kind of squared out with the long ends, it would have probably met the requirements. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so that limits what they can do, and they went with the smallest package possible to present to the board. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so the footprint's not really going to change except for the mudroom, which is 6 foot by 10 inches and by 7 feet. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's actually offset on the back, so it's tucked in behind the house?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And Kenya, with respect to the pavers, I guess there was, you walked the property.
Yes. If you want to go to the site plan, we can.
The survey.
Have an extra 10% of the impervious surface allowed, impervious surface. And so we decided, even though it would be nice to keep all this and ask for another variance, we decided to remove the extra because we didn't want to ask for 2 variances. That's the honest truth. And We are going to remove the pavers that are closer to the fence right here. If you see that yellow section.
Once again,
and they're going to put plantings.
The microphone,
Sorry. We are going to remove the pavers that are in the yellow section by the fence. There's a fence right there. And they are going to put plants there. So, I don't think that they don't even have a driveway to get to their garage. So I think this is the best we can do with what they have, is basically get rid of all that extra and just put some trees in front of the fence, and that's about it. Questions?
Okay. No further questions. Does the board have questions?
okay. Okay, does any member of the board have any questions? A regular shaped lot, would you think that this would constitute a hardship of the land?
What's that?
Would you think this would constitute a hardship of the land within a regular shaped lot?
Yeah, because it's irregular. If it was squared out, they probably wouldn't even need a variance for this. So just because it has that irregular shape, it makes it smaller, so it creates a situation for them.
Okay.
And
although we're talking about the size of this family, once you do this to the house remains, they move on. So if we look at it from the standpoint of the property rather than the family's needs, would you say that this really brings the house more into the 21st century, giving it the accoutrements that one would expect of a house in that nature?
definitely, I think it's a positive for the Millers and a positive for the neighborhood and future homeowners on it, because it'll just make it that much better and functional. I mean, old houses just don't cut it anymore on how they're laid out and things like this, so it's redoing it to just make it more functional for them and for any future homeowner.
Okay, thanks. Does any board member have any other questions? Steve, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do with the pavers. The sections that are all in yellow are going to be removed. There's a stone path that goes to that slate patio in the back. Is there a need for that? Are you going to extend that? Or is it just going to end in the middle of the yard?
Steve, those are like loose stones. So we are going to grab those same stones that are there and just redistribute them, because it's not going anywhere once we remove the patio. But we didn't have enough time to just sit down and just design the path, but we are going to keep the same stones. and just
So you're going to
relocate.
keep those stones, you're just going to extend it more towards the garage?
I mean, it's going to be thinner.
Narrow
right.
the pathway down? and-
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because it's not what it looks like there. There is like,
Just stops, yeah.
this is something
Okay.
that the engineer did, but it's more like stones that are separated and the water seeps through them. So it's not a surface that rolls the water into the next door neighbor or the house. There are stones that are separated, so we can reconfigure and stepping stones like some yards have. Like.
Okay. As far as the floor plans, Kenya is correct. The last renovation was strictly for the first floor, to open it up, to give more living space down below. And the second floor was basically stayed in very small bedrooms. So I would agree with her in regards to, enlarging the sleeping areas. That's all I have.
Okay. Dave, do you have any questions?
I do not.
All right. Caroline?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No questions.
Okay. Okay, I can give the board one more chance? No? Any members of the public, does anyone from the public have any questions of the witness?
Or statements.
Well, okay, we'll get to that in a sec. Not seeing a show of hands, we'll close the questions to the public now. Does anyone have any statements they wish to make relating to this case? Not seeing a show of hands, we'll close that to the public also. This is a D variance. You require 5 affirmative votes. We only have 6 people present. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What I'm going to do is ask each member to give you their thoughts. Now, they may say something that you think is a positive and then could vote negative. So listen to it carefully and make your own decision. I will then give you the opportunity of deciding whether you want us to bring it to a vote. So with that, you want to start? Give us your thoughts.
So I am very familiar with the area, and I've lived in town for about 30 years, familiar with the area and the house, the existing house, and the the architecture of the house currently is very consistent with the neighborhood, and it's a lovely street in Oradell. And looking at the plans, it seems like the design is in keeping with the area. Is that, I would just, that's my take from what I've read and what I've heard from you. And understand your perspective on the need to update, these homes that, keep the character of the home while giving, the homeowners the function that they need. So.
Yep, I would echo those sentiments, and I would also just recognize, appreciating how council framed how the land use law and the master plan are actually linked to what you're trying to do here. It's great to see an application where it's teed up clearly for the board. What's the point you're trying to make? What's the applicable law? Attach the relevant documents, and then tie the facts to the law. So appreciate how clearly you set that forth for the board. And I agree, you're not asking Kenya for a huge change here. No major changes to the front of the house. Will stay in keeping with the other homes on that block. So I think it's an appropriate and it sounds like very needed upgrade to the home.
Sir?
Agree with everything that's been said so far. I think it makes sense. I think it's really a great way to update a house of that style in that neighborhood. Everything matches, and it's consistent with the master plan.
Same here. I'm in agreement with it. The fact that you tried to keep it within the scope of the neighborhood. It's not over-expanding. And the use of the house, the functional use of the house for family is required.
Jeanette?
I agree with the rest of the board members here. I like the way that I noticed that there's a chimney that's just kind of standing out on its own on the left side of the house, and this really kind of ties everything together when you put the second floor on. So even though you say it's not really going to change what it looks like from the front, it will bring it to be a more cohesive look to the house and nice, upgrades inside.
Okay. And from my standpoint, I think this calls out for this kind of a renovation. It does bring the house into the 21st century. You've done, I think, the maximum that you can do given the limitations of the property. So I think it's a good job. You've heard from us. Do you want us to vote?
Yes.
Okay, then can I have a motion in the affirmative or the negative on this application? Anybody, before I call someone?
I'll move that the board adopts application 877-24 on the basis that the applicants have met their burden, demonstrating that they meet the required elements for AD variance.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, we have a second. No further discussion. Let's see. We have Mr. Devine is not. Burrows and Bonner. Mr. Devine? No.
I'm in favor of granting the variance.
Ms. Zadinsky?
Yes, in favor.
Mr. Camparielli? Not here. I'll keep getting that wrong. Ms. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Santaniello?
Yes.
Ms. Cobb?
Yes.
And Mr. Michaelman, yes. Well, congratulations. You have your
Thank you.
variance. Now, just thank you. Since you already know it, I'll say it anyway. This will be reduced to writing in the form of a resolution for the next meeting. Don't do anything before that. Then after we adopt that resolution, members of the public have 45 days, I believe it is, to object to this. So anything you do before that time frame expires is done at your own risk, because it could be reversed. But other than that, congratulations and thank you very much. We appreciate it. And Kenya, welcome back.
Thank you.
You were a board member.
All right. Thank you, board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and with that, I will call calendar 876-24, Garbage, 276 Beechwood Road.
Mr. Chairman, the notices are in order, so the board has jurisdiction.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Bruce Whitaker from the firm of McDonald Whitaker, representing the applicant, Nicole and Andrew Garbovich. They are the owners of 276 Beechwood Road in Oradell. It's shown on your tax map as Block 1307, Lot Number 31. The property is in the R-2 zone. The applicant is seeking a variance relief this evening for purposes of putting an addition on the property. You have in front of you the application. Attached to the application is the survey, the site plan, as well as the architectural plans. Just to give you a very brief overview of the application, the addition I would submit to you is in a very modest addition. It will have a 2-car garage, and then the current garage will be incorporated into a family room, den, and guest room, all of which you'll hear from our architect. The floor area ratio, refreshingly, will be 26.8%, with 27.9% is permitted. So we're not seeking a floor area ratio variance. We're not seeking building coverage variance because we're well below that, as you'll hear from our surveyor and engineer. And impervious coverage will be only 36%, where 40% is permitted. What we have is a property with a lawfully existing structure on it, and under the C1 criteria, what we're reviewing this evening is that we have a nonconformity currently. The side yard setback towards Valerie Place is at 26.8 feet, where 30 feet is required. This is a nonconformity. It is where the current structure is. Those of you who have seen the house, who've looked at the plans, recognize that this is basically a front orientation onto Valerie Place. What the applicant is proposing to do is to extend that front yard variance situation by extending the home along Valerie. There will be no exacerbation of the pre-existing nonconformity. It would remain the same. And as you'll hear from our architect, when if this addition were to be approved and were to be constructed, at that point it will match up with the house itself, and it will be a continuous look, so it will not look like an addition per se. Another good aspect I would submit to you from a plane perspective is we're creating a side loading garage, which from a plane perspective is something that's always recognized as being good, so you're not having garage doors facing a streetscape. With that submitted, I would say to you that the overall building itself fits within the neighborhood scheme. You recognize to the one side of this property, the right side of the property, it is an undeveloped area, so there's no one that is being affected by it from that side. There was called out some other nonconformities on the property, and those nonconformities having to do with an fence encroachment in the front yard, a patio in the side yard, and a side yard setback of 12.2 feet where 15 feet is required. Those have been pre-existing conditions, and by virtue of what this applicant is proposing, none of them are being touched in any manner whatsoever, so there's no exacerbation of those nonconformities. That's an overview of the application. Unless there's any questions of me, I have two witnesses this evening. I will call Sean McClellan first to explain what the existing conditions are and what's being proposed, and then I have Mr. Tolley here, our architect, for purposes of explaining what's being proposed from an architectural standpoint.
Care to qualify the witness?
Thank you,
Mr. McClellan, will you raise your right hand, please? You swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding shall be true, self you got.
I do.
And for the record, state your full name, please, and spell your last name.
Sean McClellan, last name spelled McClellan. Business address is 84 Gettysburg Way, Lincoln Park, New Jersey.
Chairman, Mr. McClellan has been qualified, maybe here, but other boards I represent, I recommend he be deemed qualified as
We
a
do
civil
accept you
engineer.
as an expert witness.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. McClellan, you've been engaged by the owners for purposes of preparing the plans that were submitted with this application. Is that correct?
Correct.
And these plans show, and the survey shows existing condition as what is being proposed?
Yes.
What I'd like you, referencing those plans, I'd like you to explain what the existing conditions are, what is being proposed, and what variance relief is being sought.
Sure. So just a site plan. It's a site plan for Nicole Gurovich, dated May 9th, 2024. As you briefly stated, it's a corner lot on Beechwood Road and also Valerie Place. It's in the R2 zone. Lot area is just over 15,000 square feet, where 12,000 is required. We meet the lot width. We have 100 where 75 is required. We meet the front setback on Beach. 30 feet is required. We have 36.1. We do not, the current existing house does not meet the setback on Valerie. 30 feet is required. We have 26.8. That's this distance right here between the front right corner of the house and Valerie Place. We don't meet the side yard setback. The existing is supposed to be 15, and we only have 12.3. Rear yard, we're in more than excess, and it's conforming as far as coverage, building and impervious, and also FAR.
So by virtue of what's being proposed here, would you explain where it is on the plan and what prompts variance relief?
Sure. So if you're looking at the house from Valerie or the eastern portion of the property, the front building line of the existing house is parallel to the street at 26.8. And what we're looking to do is just extend that line, which you can see by the red line, extend that line another 25 feet to the north, and then 25 feet to the west, and that's where we're going to have our two-car garage underneath, and then bedrooms and bathroom upstairs from that.
So by virtue of this home that exists there now, your plans show that the frontage of the house itself is 23.4 feet and then 21.6 feet. Combining them, that's what exists there now facing Valerie Place, correct?
26.8 feet.
Okay. So with that said, I'm not talking about the front yard setback, I'm talking about the length of what's there now, the length of the house.
Oh, correct. Yeah, so it goes from 20. It's a 21.6 the existing, and then we're extending it by 25 feet.
Okay. And then the overall, you'll be at some 45 feet along Valerie Place, correct?
Just 46.6.
And that's going to be along Valerie Place, in which the width of that lot is conforming.
Correct.
Is there any other variance relief being sought or any other infringements in the bulk standards?
Nothing that we're proposing. There are a couple existing nonconformities.
In connection with the proposal, is there some landscaping proposed for this site also?
We don't show it on our plan, but I believe on the north side they're going to put, there's some green arborvitaes here. I believe they're going to continue some of those to provide some screening on the north property line.
In connection with the driveway itself, that's being relocated?
Sure. So the existing driveway, so the existing garage is where we start this addition, and the driveway kind of comes in off of Valerie and kind of hooks into an odd way, kind of hooks into the garage. So our new garage is going to be more of a traditional side load or flagship type driveway, if you will.
And in front of what's being proposed as the garage, is there some greenery shown there now?
Yes, there's like 6 or 7 green giants or arborvitaes.
So that breaks the look of the new proposed addition for the streetscape purposes?
It does, yes.
You're familiar with the requirements for drainage improvements when an addition like this is proposed?
I am.
As your plans indicate that all of the drainage improvements that would be required can be installed on this property?
Yes, we're increasing the impervious coverage by 484 square feet. We're providing drainage for the entire addition of 625 square feet. In terms of the 10-year 2-inch rainfall, that's 760 gallons we have to provide drainage for, and we're providing 1,208 gallons, so it'll be more than enough capacity.
So basically over designing for what the addition is that's proposed.
Correct.
I have no further questions of this witness at this time.
Board members, do you have any questions of witness?
Well, you said you're supplying the additional drainage. Is that all staying on the property, or?
It'll all be in the underground drainage chambers, and will stay on the property.
Any other questions? Steve, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple. You're saying that there were some nonconformities with the existing property. You don't plan to do anything with them. Some of the items were never approved by the borough and fell into that, one being the pavers on the west side, along the side of the house. You're proposing to keep those?
Yes.
And what's the purpose of them?
I can have Mrs. Gerkovich testify to it.
Okay.
As to I think it's where the pool equipment is, and it's when they purchased the home. Basically, much of that was there already.
Yeah, which wasn't approved. So we'll need to address that. The other item would be the wood fencing around the property. It goes off their property substantially on the north side and in the front yard, which is on Valerie Place. Do you tend to bring those into compliance?
We can stipulate to that if the board were to approve.
Okay. And also the shed setback off the property line, you have 2 feet off of there. off the property line, which is fine. Other than that, I don't have any other statements.
So the items that previously been done without approval, you're amending your application to request that as well?
Request that, it was, work from the predecessor before they took
Okay,
title.
understood,
Yeah.
yes, you just,
It happens many times.
yes, okay.
Yes, it does.
Dave?
Sure, I have a couple quick questions. I mean, we didn't perform a formal review, but a couple items. Mr. McClellan, did you perform any soil movement calculations as part of what you did?
We will, pending approval, we'll do a perk test and percolation test, and we'll let the report of the rate.
That's fine. But as far as calculations, as far as like cut and fill, did you-
Yes, it's up in the top right corner. We're only I guess we're cutting 75 yards, filling 42 with a removal of 33 yards.
Okay, so the combination of them, so just so the board's aware, so that would put them over the 100 cubic yard threshold. So as with any application, if I did the math right, that would put them under the purview of the board here to authorize the soil movement permit for that. So just something to consider as part of the application.
That would be a condition of any approval.
Yeah, but the board would have to take action on
Right.
that formally, because you're over the 100. Thank you about the stormwater. I didn't ask that question, but I was going to ask that. I was going to ask that one next. So you beat me to it. So thank you.
I heard soil, I figured you were looking
It's all
for the
good.
test.
It's all good. So I have no further
Okay.
questions.
Carolyn? Do you have?
Nothing, thank you.
Could you just give me the calculations again?
Sure, for soil?
No, about the drainage.
Sure.
It's 484 square feet of additional impervious.
Right, but-
Additional capacity says an over-design. Could you give me just the numbers?
Sure, so the increase in impervious coverage is 484 square feet.
That I have.
But we're going to provide drainage for the entire addition, which is 624 square feet.
Okay.
624 square feet requires 784 gallons of capacity, and we're providing 1,208 gallons.
Very good, thank you.
And you'll be submitting that application?
Yes.
Anything further, Bob?
That's all.
Okay. Members of the public, does anybody have any questions of the witness? Not seeing a show of hands, I'll close that. Sir, your next
Call
witness?
our next witness, Mr. Dottola.
Mr. Dottola, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding shall be true, self God?
I do.
And for the record, state your full name, please. Spell your last name,
Albert
please.
Dottola, architect, 70 Chestnut Ridge Road, Montvale, New Jersey.
Mr. Dottola has been qualified numerous times before the boards I represent.
And we do
Recommend
accept you as an
being so
expert witness.
qualified.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dottola, you've been engaged for the purposes of preparing the architectural plans that were submitted with this application.
That is correct,
I'd like you to walk us through what is being proposed.
certainly. If we could put the floor plans up first. This is a split-level house. And Steve, if you could put the that one up first, yes. So presently, you walk into... Sorry about that. Presently, you walk into the house on the mid-level, which is the living level, living room, dining room, kitchen, family room. And then you either go upstairs to the bedroom level or downstairs the garage and a couple of smaller rooms. So what we are proposing on the upper bedroom level is to expand 25 feet to the north and 25 feet wide. This allows us to increase the size of the two bedrooms on the eastern side of the house. Bedroom 3 presently is 9'7" wide, and bedroom 2 is presently 10'1" wide. So we are going to use some of the room to expand these two bedrooms to make them more usable. We're going to make them both 12 feet, 1 inch wide. And then we are adding a master or primary bedroom with closets and a master bathroom. Presently, there is a master bedroom here. It's a small master bedroom. The homeowners would like a larger master bedroom, a better bathroom, again, 21st century type of design. Freestanding tub, larger shower stall, separate toilet compartment, and a vanity with a linen closet as well. So that's the upper level expansion. Again, it's a 25-foot by 25-foot addition. The lower level, the existing portion of the lower level, which is shown here as a family room, is presently the garage. It's a small garage. It's a bit undersized. We are proposing to turn that garage into a family room and create a new two-car garage, side entry, as was mentioned earlier. Can you go to the elevation? The face of the house that faces Valerie, or the elevation of the house that faces Valerie, which is the east elevation, is really the front of the house. That's where the front entry is. Presently, and if you see on the screen or here, there's a dashed line. That's the size of the existing front bedroom level and garage. Again, we're expanding out. We're proposing to turn the family room into the existing garage into a family room, and the garage in the new addition. And upstairs, bedroom 3, bedroom 2, and the primary bedroom over there. We can't put windows in the middle here because of the wall between the family room and the garage interferes with the location if we were to put windows there. We are not increasing the height of the building. We are just extending the roof line further across. We are proposing same materials. There's a horizontal siding. There's a stone, what we call waterfall type of detail below the windows. We're just going to carry that straight on through, and that carries around to the side as well, and the back of the addition. This is the rear elevation, or the west side. We have that stone, the siding, and again, the roof line. It's just an extension, same height. No additional height is being added. We are proposing to change the roof line a little bit here in the living room, just again to make this a little bit more attractive and something more in line with designs that we do today.
On the basis of what is being proposed as far as the garage is concerned, you stated that the garage that they have now is somewhat small. This new garage would accommodate today's larger vehicles?
Larger vehicles, additional storage space. Most people have bicycles. It's a young family. They have strollers, children's toys, and so forth.
As far as the building material is concerned, both the roof as well as the facade of the building, trim, etc., it's all going to match so that at the end of the day, from a streetscape perspective, you wouldn't know that it's an addition. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I have nothing further at this time.
Thank you. Again, members of the board, do you have any questions of the witness? No? Okay. Steve?
Nothing, Chairman.
Dave?
I do not.
No, thank you.
Caroline? Bob?
For the FAR will be compliant, is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Members of the public, does any member of the public have questions of the witness? Not seeing of show of hands, I'll close that to the public.
This concludes our presentation.
Okay. Okay, members of the public, you have a chance to give us your closing statements. Not seeing of show of hands, we'll close that. Any of our professionals have anything they want to say to us to guide us in this?
Nothing.
All right. On what basis is this a D variance?
I'm sorry, it's not a D variance.
It's not? Okay.
No, that was my error. I was thinking of the other two applications.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, I said refreshingly, there's no FAR here.
Yes, I heard that. That's why I said to myself, why is it a D variance? But I know I'd missed something, and it turned out I didn't. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll start from this end if you want to give us your thoughts.
I think it's a nice upgrade to the house, reconfiguration of the second floor and where they put the family room and better accommodations for the garage. And it doesn't seem to be something that would affect anyone nearby, improvement of the property overall.
I agree. It looks like an improvement to the property, design, functional space that's needed for a growing family.
Sir?
Same. I think it's a great use of the extra space over there, and I know those splits with the upstairs bedrooms, this is a great reconfiguration.
No, I would agree. We've seen a lot of applications for split Alan. This is, I guess that's an understatement of the year, but this is a nice use of the space. You managed to do it without going over the FAR, which is often a challenge. I think it's a nice addition to the home, nice proposed addition to the home.
Yeah, I don't think I really have anything else. Looks like a nice addition to the home in keeping with the neighborhood, and didn't hear anything from the public, neighbors with concerns, so I don't have anything else.
Yeah, and I don't see any negatives to this. To me, it seems like a positive for the neighborhood. With that, still, we have 6. We'll need 4, but I'll give you the opportunity to determine if you want us to vote.
Yes, please.
Okay. Do I have a motion in the negative?
Mr. Chairman, could I just ask Mr. Whittier a question?
Oh, sure.
I think you represented that the non-conforming conditions
The
will be
non-conforming
brought into
condition pertains
compliance.
to the fence encroachment.
What about pavers?
I'm sorry.
I thought pavers also had a problem.
Correct.
Pavers and fence.
Side yard pavers. There can certainly be an area for mechanicals.
It can be the area for mechanicals.
Yeah, but you'd remove the other.
Obviously a paver under the mechanicals could stay.
Correct.
Okay, we'll stipulate.
So that will be part of a motion if it's approved.
That'll be also a condition, the
Yes.
fence and the pavers.
Okay. Do I have?
It's outlined in Mr. Depkin's review letter, right?
Okay. Do I have a motion in the affirmative or the negative on this case? Yeah. No, it's your turn. You do it, and then you can second.
I will move to approve calendar number 876-24 on the basis that the proposal meets all the positive criteria. See, I never do this. You got to do it. For all the right reasons.
And then subject to the 2 conditions.
Yes. Subject to the 2 conditions mentioned. Thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. We'll see if I can get the roll right this time. Mr. Devine is not here. Mr. Bartlett's not here. Ms. Zadinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Burrow's not here. Mr. Santaniello.
Yes.
Mr. Camporielli is not here. I knew I'd get it wrong again. Emily Cobb.
I'm here, yes.
And Maureen Day.
Yes.
And Marvin Michaelman, yes. So again, congratulations.
Thank you
have
very
your
much.
Variance. I'm not going to go through the 45 days and all. You know it. Okay.
And the applicant is here this evening, so she knows.
Okay, she heard it.
And I
Good.
told her already beforehand, if you were.
Okay, good.
Thank you again for your time.
If they want to submit plans and permits, we can review them. We won't be able to release them.
And now, what we're going to do is call calendar 874-24. We'll seek to have a break of 10 minutes around 9 o'clock, so we're...
Can I have just 2 minutes, Sam?
Sure, by all means. So we'll begin when council is ready. Okay. I don't know if you want to leave for the day. I'm going to discuss the combined board, but you could always watch that on... Me, I'm here. Well, I mean, I'm not telling you to go home. I'm just saying...
Well, I mean, I have the same situation.
You have to...
I can't sit on the, I've been recused.
No.
You Oh, that's right, you emailed about that already. Yeah.
4. So
We
we
only have
well, 4 gives us the ability to hear the case. We're certainly not going to vote today. So we've got two members stepping down. Right? When he comes up, both of you mention that you're stepping down. And again, if you want to leave, you certainly can, because the only business that we're going to conduct after this will be my little bit of discussion about the combined board.
Oh, they're going to combine the boards?
Well, that's a thought.
It's like a new.
I oppose it, but I don't get a vote.
30 seconds before they kick in, just in case
I have 3 other boards that are all combined.
I don't want to discuss it.
It's fine, like Walworth never combined, Middletown, Gloucester never combined. We don't want Walworth to be combined.
If you're an applicant, we've had that before. I don't believe you have to remove yourself from the board, but I think obviously you stand down. Yeah.
But Gloucester has two boards.
Yes.
I'll have to answer any questions.
Hillsdale doesn't.
Yeah, that's what we've done in the past with the spouse. Sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Bruce Whitaker from the firm McDonald Whitaker. Here on behalf of Bergen County United Way Madeline Housing, this is a continuation of the public hearing in which we are seeking preliminary and final site plan approval, soil movement approval, and certain variance relief.
Yeah, before you continue, I believe 2 members of the board have to step down, so I want to, so obviously we'll still have 4, we can hear, but we're not taking any action today. If you 2 of you want
I have to have additional members then read the transcript.
Yeah.
You want to proceed, Mr. Whitaker?
I'll have them proceed and have the transcript available.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is also videotaped, so they can watch it on OPTV at their convenience.
And they'll sign the appropriate
The
affidavit.
appropriate certification.
Oh, yeah,
will be filed.
we do that as a matter of course. They must certify.
Watch, there's a cord here, just be careful when you come down. Oh.
Go that way.
That's the safe way to go.
I apologize for the delay, but please proceed.
I think with the length of time that went by, it warrants just a very brief overview of the application. As you recognize, we were here last on May the 20th. The meeting was carried to your July meeting, but unfortunately that meeting could not occur, so we then did a renotice just to cover ourselves. So we've had the same notice we sent out before, and I submitted an affidavit of service and proof of publication to both council as well as to the board. This is an application, as I stated, for preliminary final site plan approval, the soil movement approval, and the variance relief as it pertains to an FAR variance and as it pertains to certain setbacks, all of which we've gone through in the testimony of May 20th. If you recall, Mr. Halls was qualified as an expert witness in the field of engineering and planning, and on the basis of that, we limited his testimony first to to engineering, and we walked you through each of the aspects from an engineering perspective. We talked about drainage, we talked about the landscaping, we talked about the setbacks, we testified in connection with lighting. We stipulated from a question being raised, for instance, no signage is proposed for this, and he took us through and answered all of the questions from an engineering perspective. Because at that point, it was time for members of the public to cross-examine him or ask questions of his testimony from the engineering aspect only. We reserved to have planning testimony taken at a later date. So that brings us up to speed as to where we are right now. And the hour got late on May the 20th, so we stopped then. And for tonight, Mr. Halls, who's already been sworn in, is available this evening for anyone to ask questions of him in connection with the testimony he's already provided.
Okay. So,
Again, on the issue of engineering. Planning has not
On
yet been
engineering.
done.
okay. So you seated is fine. Okay, you've already been sworn, and I guess we're at the point now where we want to ask questions if anybody has any questions of you. Does any of the board members have any questions of the witness on his testimony, which is given May 20th? No. Steve?
No. Where do you want to start? What are you going to be looking at so I can put it up on the screen?
The plan you have there is fine. I mean, for right now. We can switch it when the when questions come up. How's that?
Okay.
Dave, do you have any questions?
It's a very good question.
I asked the tough ones.
No, that's fine. So, Mr. Hall, as far as the stormwater management, I guess just briefly recap us on what was proposed at the property.
Yeah, there's
It's been some time.
the building itself. We are collecting the roof drains, and we are piping the roof drains to a seepage system that's located in the left rear corner of the building. The parking area is going to be collected drainage inlets in the parking area, and then we're going to pipe that drainage to seepage pits that are located closer towards Gensler Avenue.
Okay. As far as the drainage, it's designed for what kind of storm event?
It's designed for the 100-year storm event.
Gotcha. Now, I guess in the event that there's a storm that's greater than 100 year, what would transpire there?
Well, if we have a very, very large storm, what'll happens is the seepage pits, I guess, could fill up. Then it would the water would come out of the storm inlet, back up through the system, come through the storm inlet, and then would overflow and continue in the same path it does today.
Okay.
And then the building, the same thing. Potentially, I guess the water could back up towards the gutters where the downspouts connect to the ground, and then it would come out and run along the ground and continue in the same fashion it does today.
Okay, and then which direction is that the water currently flows?
It currently flows, Genther Avenue is the higher portion of the property, and flows from Genther Avenue towards the rear, which is the west, the east. I'm sorry, east.
Okay. As far as garbage collection on the property, how is that being handled?
Yeah, we have proposed, we made a modification prior to the last meeting. We changed from a dumpster to cans, and the cans will be on the right rear corner of the building, and they'll be in a fenced enclosure, and the trash will be picked up in the same fashion other houses on the street the trash is collected.
Okay. Now, as far as the parking, I guess overall the configuration of it, can you just walk us through that a little bit and how that kind of meets into the character or doesn't meet into the character of the neighborhood?
Yeah, so it's surface parking. There is no garage parking that we have with the layout. We have 8 parking spaces. Through the calculations, we only need to have 7. We do, and this type of use, we are probably providing extra parking than you normally would have on a daily basis. But we chose to do that because of the location of the proposed house and location of the property itself. If we we're trying to eliminate any possible or the infrequent on-street parking, because when you're traveling on Brookside Avenue and you turn onto Genther, it's a tight turn there, and we don't want the traffic immediately in front of our place and in front of our location. So that we've added additional parking spaces with our site itself. So that's what we've done in an attempt to add a few more parking spaces on our site so that there's visitors or guests at the property, they'd have a place to park rather than in the street.
Is there any EV parking proposed on the property?
We do not. This is actually only a 3-unit complex. It's a 1 4-bedroom unit group. 2 special needs units, 1 1-bedroom, 1 2-bedroom. On the second floor, it's only 3 units. You have to provide EV parking when there's 5 units or greater.
Okay. I guess what if a staff member needed that in the future? Is that something that would potentially be considered, or I don't know?
There's an expense associated with it. I guess if the applicant chooses, the owner chooses to add it in the future, they'd be able to do that. There's nothing that precludes them from doing it.
Okay.
Certainly have the ability to do it, just like any homeowner would have the ability to do it, but it's not a requirement under the pertinent statute.
Thank you. Now, I think since the last hearing, as it relates to, I'm just jumping back to the stormwater, I believe there was some soil testing done.
We actually did it some time ago. I don't remember. I know that we submitted the information, but I'd have to go back in my notes. But we did do soil testing in the location of the house. And the parking area, where the seepage pits are. There is sand on the site. It's very permeable. There is a water table, but we designed the system so that we're above the water table.
Okay. So your system's designed to meet the NJDP BMP manual, best management practices?
Yes, while we don't have to adhere to that, right. We did meet those guidelines.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Now, as far as, I guess there's, is there lighting in the parking lot area?
We have 2 bollard lights. We're not proposing tall lights with I'll call them with what you'd have a normal parking area with lights with light fixtures. We chose to put volatile lights, trying to be sensitive to the surrounding neighborhood, so that it would light the walkways to the parking spaces and not the parking spaces themselves. We were trying to minimize any of the lighting in the parking area, so it was similar to any other residential home in the immediate area.
Okay. As far as the property, so I guess that's a good one, Steve. So I guess there's a number of trees being removed on the property to accommodate the construction of the new house. What's being proposed to kind of help compensate for the tree removal on the property?
We're proposing, I think it was, I hope I get the right testimony. 20 trees being removed and 18 replacement trees. I believe those are the numbers. And we're providing street trees across the frontage, and we have some arborvitae trees or evergreens along the side pathway that goes towards the cemetery in the back, which we had discussed in the back. And then we have additional trees in the parking area or alongside the entrance to the parking area. And then we have shrubbery that we're proposing along the rear and side.
And this testimony would be supplemented by the testimony he gave at the last meeting concerning trees.
Now, I guess as far as the replacements, I believe based on the borough's calculations, I think you guys are short on the replacement. Are you guys willing to satisfy a payment in lieu of it in accordance with the ordinance?
Well, yes, this is recognized as being somewhat of a joint project with the borough. So I don't know what the borough's position is in regards to this, but we would have to work that out through the borough.
Okay.
This is
The
what
governing
this is
body,
being
then.
funded. The governing body, yes.
But you'll be obtaining a tree permit.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Now, I guess as far as the site, is there material being imported into the property?
Yeah, as I previously testified, there we are bringing soil into the site. Our soil moving is. Yeah, we have 292 yards of soil that we're cutting. That's the site grading and through the installation of the seepage pits. Then we're filling an additional 629 cubic yards. That's a total soil movement when you add the two are for 921 cubic yards. And we're importing 337 cubic yards, which is approximately 25 truckloads. And that'll be during the whole site grading and construction of the parking area. That's when that soil moving will occur.
Okay. And all soil imported would be clean material?
We stipulated to that at the last meeting.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Other question I have, so on the, is that the south side of the property, there's an easement for the utilities.
Yeah, there's a existing sanitary sewer, storm drainage system, and water main that are crossing the southerly end of the property.
And I guess during construction, that'll be protected and preserved?
There is, yes, none of the construction we have is going to impede any of those utilities that are there. We would also raise and modify manholes for access or whatever needs to be done with the proposed grading, with the proposal.
Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions I had.
Caroline?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can we just clarify the number of trees proposed for removal? Because I thought I heard you say 20 tonight. My notes indicate 23.
I have 23 also.
From the last meeting, as well as my report.
There was 23 trees to be removed.
Right.
And
I thought you said
18 replacement trees.
I thought you said 20 tonight, so I just
23,
wanted to
you said.
clarify.
It was 23.
Then I didn't hear you properly.
Sorry about you. I will try to be more distinct. How's that?
I had asked my questions last time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Bob?
No questions.
Do we have any attorneys representing members of the public? Okay, we have one here. We'll take the attorney first. Again, when it comes to questions, it's only questions of the witness based upon his testimony from May 20th. I know that's asking a lot for everybody to try and remember it, so I'm going to depend on the witness also to say if a question is not pertinent to what testimony given, to let us know. Okay, sir, if you would...
Mr. Chairman, could I make a comment?
Yes.
Counsel should identify who his clients are for the board.
Yes.
Because those parties should not be permitted to ask questions as well.
Right, okay. I was going to say that, but yes. Okay. Sir, if you would come up. That is if you have questions. I don't want to force you. Okay. And so if you would identify yourself and identify your clients.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Rob Simon. I'm an attorney with Herald Law in Warren, New Jersey. So I represent various property owners, and I apologize if I get the pronunciations wrong. Nancy Constantopoulos, 240 Maple Avenue, Oradell. Leslie and Peter Johnson, 263 Garden Place, Oradell. Akiyoshi and Akiko Kakehi, 575 Brookside Avenue, Oradell. And Monica Sipek and Jared Kurach, 273 Garden Place in Oradell. Mr. Halls, good evening. Good seeing you, Dave.
You too. How are you?
How are you, Dave? So Dave, you've been to the I can call you Dave or Mr. Halls.
Call me anything you like.
I figured. Okay. I'll flip in and out. So, Mr. Halls, you've been to the site, correct?
Yes.
How many times?
Numerous times. I have no idea.
Okay. When's the last time you were at the site?
Sometime this year. When was the last time we testified? I don't know.
May 20th.
May 20th was the last time I was at the site.
And I assume you've reviewed the pertinent sections of the ordinance as well as the applications and application materials on the plan submitted in support of the application, correct?
Yes.
And you believe that they are accurate and complete as to the relief required for this application, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. Just a couple of background questions for clarification. So who currently owns this property?
That's directed at me.
Yes, it is.
I believe it's the Borough of Oradell.
And Mr. Whitaker stated just a couple minutes ago that this is a joint project with the applicant. Do you know what he meant by that?
I believe it's the Borough of Oradell is the owner of the property, and they are going to, I believe, contractually, I've never seen the contract, but I believe that they are donating their property or transferring the property to Bergen County United Way.
Okay. And you mentioned a contract that you haven't seen, but you're aware of the existence of a contract between the borough and the applicant?
I would assume so, otherwise we wouldn't be here.
Okay. Do you know if this property was put out to any type of public bidding process?
I'm going to object. It's not anything that was testified to.
That's a legal issue anyway. It's outside of Mr. Hall's qualifications.
We introduced long before Mr. Simon was here, but other counsel was here from his firm. We introduced and referenced the transfer and development agreement by and between the Borough of Oradell and the applicant of January 5th, 2020.
Right. So, Mr. Hall, you're familiar with that transfer and development agreement?
No, I've never seen it.
Okay. Do you know whether this property is part of the borough's Rossi inventory, recreation open space inventory?
I don't know.
And I noticed that on your plan or on the tax map, there was a reference to this property being used for, or it just stated parking. Do you know what that reference is on your plan or on the tax map for this particular property?
You're asking two different questions.
Okay, let's break it down. So on the tax map, okay, for this lot, for lot 5, it states parking. It says Borough of Oradell exempted parking on the tax map.
I don't recall that.
Do you have any knowledge as the engineer on the project as to the use of this property for parking?
No, it's a vacant piece of property, President.
And as the engineer on the project, are you familiar with the current use of this property?
It's a vacant piece of property.
Okay. Do you know for how long the property has been vacant?
When I did the survey and reviewed the information, I could probably guess.
No guessing.
No guessing. I agree with Mr.
No
Whitaker.
guessing.
Okay, then that's the wrong word. The maps that I referred to, 1924, 1956, 1979. So all those maps, there was no structures on the property.
Okay. Are you familiar with the historic use of this property up until today, at any time?
I would say it's been vacant and unused for a long time based on the trees and the size of the trees that are on the property.
And I saw there was a reference on one of the sheets of your site plan to a 1979 subdivision. Are you familiar with the circumstances surrounding that subdivision?
Yes.
Okay. And what were the circumstances surrounding the subdivision?
They acquired additional property on the site, and that's why it's such an irregular shape. They added property.
They added property to what is now known as Lot 5?
Yes, that's correct.
And do you know why there was property added in 1979 to this vacant property?
Yes, there was additional subdivision that was done to the property.
Okay, and I'm saying, do you know the purpose or the reason behind the subdivision in 1979 that you referenced in your engineering plan that led to additional land square footage being added to this property that's now known as Lot 5?
The subdivision's maps do not say why.
Okay. Did you, as part of your investigation and creation of the site plan for this property, which references the subdivision from 1979, did you investigate the application materials resolution or the subdivision plan itself to ascertain the purpose for that subdivision and the addition of land?
Again, the subdivisions don't say why. So I can't answer your question.
Okay, but you didn't look at the resolution or the application meeting minutes, anything like that? Okay. And you referred to some soil reports, I guess, that were submitted prior to the May meeting, correct? That were submitted in support of this application?
Yes.
Right. Neither you nor your firm was the author of those reports, correct?
That is correct.
And other than what we discussed a moment ago regarding the subdivision, are you aware of any prior efforts or applications to develop this property in any manner, site plan, subdivision, or otherwise?
I don't know of anything else besides the maps I referred to on the plan.
And earlier you said that you've been to this property, and I think you said, Dave, a bunch of times, most recently on the May date of this hearing for this application. Have you ever been at the property during a rain event?
I'm sure I was.
Okay. What date were you at this property during a rain event?
I don't have the dates of when I was on the property, but I know I've been here. I can recall being here when it rained.
Okay, and was it in what I'll describe as a heavy rain event or light rain event, if you recall?
Is that a heavy rain event according to you or me?
According to you.
No.
No, you have not been at the property during a heavy rain event, correct?
That I consider a heavy rain event.
Okay, what do you consider a heavy rain event, Mr. Halls?
That I can't tell you because I'd have to take you with me when we experience it.
Okay, that's fair. Mr. Halls, you have not seen any scaled architectural elevations submitted by a licensed architect in support of this application, correct?
I have no idea. You lost me in that question.
Have you reviewed any scaled architectural elevations submitted by a licensed architect in support of this application? Have you seen any architectural elevations?
Yes.
Okay. Were they prepared by a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey?
Yes.
And they showed a scale with dimensions and heights and roof line heights for this application?
I believe so. Yeah, I scaled the plans, but that's a scaled drawing.
Okay. We're pulling up, what I see is, if you can just, I'm sorry, just scroll down just to the right. Vergona and Vergona, orative supportive housing, right? And I see there's an A1, and then if you scroll further, A2, which is the floor plan. Correct?
Okay.
Right? Other than A1 and A2, proposedly produced by Vergona and Vergona, have you seen any other architecturals in connection with this application?
I've seen elevation views of this application. That's correct.
When you see elevation views, you're talking about A1, the rendering? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm actually saying I've seen elevation views of the building.
Okay. Scaled elevation views. Do you know if those scaled elevation views, architectural elevation views, have been submitted to this board in support of this application?
I don't know. I didn't make the application.
The architectural aspect of this application has already been testified to, and it's not something within the purview of Mr. Halls, so I raise that objection. And the opportunity for counsel to cross-examine the architect has come and gone. That was at a prior meeting.
I'm just asking him, I'm not asking him as an architect. I'm just asking him in terms of, because I'm going to get to some questions about his
He
engineering.
offered no testimony on that, so you're apparently trying to lay a foundation for something, but if that's the only point you're making, move on. If you're laying a foundation, go ahead.
Okay. So, because you've only reviewed A1 and A2, do you know if this property
He didn't testify to that. He said he testified that he saw elevations. He didn't testify that he only saw A1.
Mr. Halls, other than reviewing A1 and A2, did you review any other architectural elevations or floor plans as part of your review of this application?
Yes.
To your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay.
I've seen elevation views of this building.
Huh. Prepared by an architect?
Prepared by Vergona, yes.
Okay, beyond A1, correct?
Well, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, just want you to be honest.
I don't remember seeing the application, what was submitted, so I would assume that the elevation views that I had were submitted with the application.
Do you recall, as part of your preparing the engineering plans for this application, whether the elevations that you did review depicted any type of basement for this property?
No.
And did you perform any type of independent title search prior to preparing your engineering plans for this application?
Yes.
And do you recall in your review of the title for this property that there are various encumbrances affecting this property in the form of easements and the like, correct? Do you recall whether any of those easements permit development that is being proposed as part of this application over or across those easements?
There is no restrictions on any of those.
So your position as the engineer is that development, including parking lots and buildings, can be constructed over those easements?
Parking lots can be, buildings can't.
And so none of the buildings being proposed as part of this application impact any of the easements that you reviewed as part of your title search?
The proposed building is not located on any of the easements.
So does any of the easements distinguish between buildings and structures in terms of what can be built over them, to your recollection?
Objection as to the form of the question.
Please rephrase it.
Sure. Do any of the easements that you reviewed that impact this property impact any buildings or structures that are being proposed to be developed on this lot?
Objection to the word impact. Don't know what it means. No clarity.
I don't know.
Or any of the buildings or...
It's already testified that no buildings are on any easements that may be on this property.
Okay, what about the parking area? So your testimony, Mr. Halls, is that the parking area is permitted to be constructed over the various easements?
Absolutely.
Now, there's a proposed, 15-foot wide, Dave, access easement on the left or northern part of the property?
A proposed access easement, that's correct.
Right. And what's the purpose of that proposed access easement?
To provide access to the rear municipal property and the cemetery lot.
Okay. And do you know what the intended uses of that easement when you say to provide access? Access for what?
Well, right now it's a lawn area. It's a lawn access to the rear property, and that would remain as it is.
So it's just access by foot?
Or tractor, or the DPW, I believe, drives back there right now, so they'd be able to continue to do so.
This was testified to at the last meeting.
I understand. That's why I'm asking the questions, Mr. Whitaker. So in terms of the DPW accessing, lot 1 in the rear?
Lot 1 and Lot 8.
Lot 1 and Lot 8. What are the activities that are going on or proposed to be going on Lot 1 or Lot 8 that necessitate a 15-foot wide easement on the northern part of this property?
It was suggested that we provide that to the back property, and that's what we did.
My notes reflect that was discussed on May 20th,
yeah.
And that the borough would reserve at the time of conveyance to the applicant that 15-foot wide easement.
Right, Bob. I'm just trying to...
It's borough-owned property, and the borough, in part of their agreement, is that they have to consent to an application. The borough has seen our plans. We propose an access easement to accommodate the borough, and that's why it's shown on the plan.
Right. And that 15-foot wide access easement, there's currently one of your dry wells is within that 15-foot wide access easement, correct?
No, I don't believe
no?
so. No.
Looks to me like I'm referring, Mr. Halls, to a plan, sheet 2 of 6, last revision date, March 28, 2024. And I apologize in advance if I don't have the latest and greatest version.
That is what's encroaching into that is the stone area for the seepage.
Right. So the stone area for the steepage pit is part of that 15-foot wide easement area, correct? It's encroaching within it, correct?
Yes, you'd be able to drive over that. That's correct.
So you can drive over the seepage pit with the tractor? Okay.
With the tractor trailer if you wanted to.
And in terms of the 15-foot wide area, it's depicted as, in sheet 3 of 6, as lawn area, correct?
That's what it presently is today.
Right, and that's what it's proposed to be under future conditions for trailers to drive back to the DPW?
For equipment to drive back there, yes. It would still continue to be a grass area.
Grass area, okay, to go across. And within that 15-foot grass area, there's no landscaping being proposed to buffer any of the properties to the north, correct? Any of the residential properties to the north, right?
No, there is buffering. We provided it on our side of the 15-foot wide, on the southerly side of the 15-foot wide access way.
Right. You have one row, right, of arborvitaes, correct?
Yes.
Green giant arborvitaes, 6 feet at the time of planting, one row, right?
Yes.
Right. So do you know why? So you don't know the frequency by which that easement area is going to be used, correct?
I have no idea.
Right. And is there any grading of that area that is going to be required prior to it being converted to grass area or lawn area? I apologize, Dave. Per your plan?
Well, it's already a lawn area now. We are going to regrade some of it. We are going to actually flatten the slope compared to what it is right now. And it'll be lawn area when we restore it.
What's the slope currently?
It's the lawn area that they're accessing right now is not along the property line. It's a little bit into the property line. So right now it's probably a 1-on-6 to 1-on-8 slope. We're making it a 1-on, I don't know. Now I'm going to quote stuff. Presently, parts of the area are all on a 1-on-4 slope, and we're changing it to a 1-on-8 slope.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, do you have many more questions?
I have many more questions.
In that case, we're going to take a 10-minute break. It is now 9:01. We'll reconvene at 9:11. The restrooms are in the hallway behind me, so you go out the door and go around if anybody needs it. If not, take the opportunity to stand up and stretch your legs. Again, we will reconvene at 9:11.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I need to stand.
I did it before, I'm not doing it again. Seven. Are they all on recall or just as this?
Judges, I think they're on this.
Resume our parties?
Or they weren't judges on recall? Yeah, they're over seven.
Yeah. Oh, the air conditioning is blowing right on.
I don't know if that's constitutional.
Well, at least I remembered a scarf last time. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, you don't want to get a
I'd rather
stiff
be
neck
cold
if
than
you-
hot. Yeah, no, I have my.
Yeah, as a friend of mine always said, I can always put on more clothes. I can't take off more skin.
Sorry, I never really said my name during this, did I? You did. Tonight I did. I did.
Okay, can I ask everybody to take their seats, please? It is 9:11 and we are back in session. Sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Halls, I just want to just close the loop on a couple more questions about the easement. Is there any other access for Lot 1 beyond this easement area, to your knowledge?
I did not study Lot 1.
And you don't know why that 15-foot wide access easement is not, as part of this project, part of Lot 1 via a subdivision. So in other words, if there's a 15-foot wide access easement to access Lot 1 and also presumably the cemetery area, right? Why is that 15-foot wide area part of this property and not part of, for example, Lot 1?
Well, presently, these are all lots owned by the borough.
Right.
And so I don't believe the borough needs to put an easement over their own property, and they're going to convey this piece, and they'd ask an easement over this piece.
Right, but I'm saying as part of this application, why wasn't there a subdivision proposed where that 15-foot wide area that's going to be used by the borough in the future be subdivided and be part of Lot 1, which is owned and operated by the borough?
You'd have to ask somebody else.
You don't know the answer.
I don't
Fine,
know that.
that's fine. If that 15-foot wide access easement, and let me back up. One of the variances you need is for lot coverage, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Another variance you need is for combined side yards, correct? You have deficient combined side yard, right? If that 15-foot wide easement area was not part of this property in the future with this easement, but rather subdivided to be part of Lot 1 to be owned and operated by the borough, that would result in a greater lot coverage deficiency and combined side yard deficiency, correct?
That's not part of the application, so
I-
I'm not going to ask.
Well, but I'm saying if it's an area that's being reserved for the borough, right?
Okay.
If it was conveyed to the borough and through a lot line adjustment made part of Lot 1, then your lot coverage deviation would be greater, correct?
Well, your example of dedicating the easement to the borough is no different than the easements that we have on the other side of the property. We have existing easements on the one side of the property for sewer, water, and storm drainage, and we're going to have another easement on the other side for an access easement.
So you equate this 15-foot wide access easement for the DPW and the cemetery access to be the same as the storm and sewer easements on the south side of the property.
It's an easement on the property that would be encumbered on the property.
Do you know whether the ordinance in the borough permits a property owner to grant, let's say, a 15-foot wide access easement to another owner?
I don't know if there's any section of the ordinance that would prevent that.
See, so if I had a piece of property, I could give you a 15-foot wide access easement over my property?
I don't know of any ordinance that would restrict that.
Okay. In your, when you put together, Dave, these plans for this project, given the width of the lot, did you look into creating a subdivision on this property?
No.
Based on the size of the lot, if you were to subdivide this property, do you know whether you would have permitted or a minimum lot area for the R4 zone?
I think you're going to have to ask the question a little differently.
Yeah. Given the lot area for this property, if you were to subdivide it to create two lots instead of maintaining one lot, would you have minimum lot area required for the R4 zone?
You could subdivide the property into two lots, one with the minimum lot size and one with a larger lot size. You could do that.
Fully conforming.
Fully conforming.
And did you look into, if you did subdivide it with two fully conforming lots, whether you could similarly have compliant lot frontage, lot width, lot depth?
I believe the answer is yes. I don't know about the lot depth. I believe the other questions are correct.
Okay. And, but you haven't done any investigation as to whether you could redesign this site, and instead of having one building, having two smaller buildings.
Yes, I did look at that with the architect, and that cannot be done.
Cannot be done.
No, you would not be able to get a 4-bedroom group home on the lots.
Well, if you subdivided the property, and could you put two family houses on those properties?
Objection is irrelevant question. We have a proposal for the 7 units. Mr. Halls has testified that you could not do it, and he looked at it.
I agree. Please move on.
There are no parking lots in this neighborhood with 8 parking spaces, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And based...
When you say in the neighborhood, you're talking about on the street?
We'll say on the street.
Yes, the answer is no.
Okay. And how many parking spaces, based on your plans, are generated by the apartments on the second floor versus the group home on the first floor?
The group home generates 2.5 parking spaces, and the 1-bedroom unit generates 1.8 parking spaces, and the 2-bedroom unit generates 2 parking spaces. So 2.5 for the group home and 3.8 for the units, so that totals 7. Because of rounding, it comes
right.
out.
So basically, you're talking 4 for the apartments and 3 for the group home.
It's not quite the way you round it, but yes, we'll be about that. 3 and 4.
And did you look into, when you said you looked into with the architect and you decided that you couldn't put a 4 unit group home on the property as subdivided, did you look into putting the parking area, I apologize, Dave, in the rear behind the building,
No.
as opposed to on the right side or the left side?
No, but to do that, we would really exceed the coverage on the property. We couldn't, there's not enough depth to this lot to be able to go behind the unit, behind the building. And to do that, then we'd have a longer driveway, and then we'd pave even more of the property. That would not be a best use of the coverage on the property.
And the fact that you have more units on the property means you have more parking spaces, which means you have more coverage, right?
There's a lot of things that dictate how the coverage arrives.
Okay, well, besides the parking, what else?
There's the building footprint itself, the coverage of the building. Then there's the walkways to and from the street. Then there's the patio area behind it. There's walkways that are required. And there's a lot of the walkways that are required by codes and different organizations that are required for access.
Do you have a breakdown on your plan as to how much impervious coverage is taken up by those walkways that need to be compliant with code?
Not in per se in terms of the word compliant with code, but we do have the coverages of the walkways on the plan.
And you said earlier, I believe, in response to a question from the board's engineer, that this stormwater system is being designed for the 100-year storm. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Do you know how many 100-year storm events this property has experienced in the past 3 years?
I don't know if it's experienced any. I have no idea.
No idea, okay. And so you have no idea also of the amount of stormwater currently emptying onto this site from other properties, right?
I do know how much other stormwater is coming out of this property from other sites.
You do?
Yes.
Okay, how much?
Very little.
And what do you base that? And what do you base that conclusion of very little on?
That's the existing topography from the adjoining properties and how the other properties are draining onto the site.
Okay. And that's based on your review of the topography of the existing site, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
oh, I'm sorry, yes.
And did you do an evaluation of the topography from the surrounding sites?
I take that in consideration when we're doing the drainage design, designing the site and grading the site.
And where did you get your topography information for the surrounding sites?
I can't tell you offhand where I got the information from.
And you're not aware of existing flooding from uphill sewers that empty into this site, right?
Which kind of sewers? Sanitary sewers? Storm sewers?
Storm sewers.
Well, there's an underground, the storm drainage through the site was rerouted brook. The brook was routed in the I'm going to misquote it again.
You misquote.
70s to 50. One of the maps I reviewed was the relocation of the storm drainage system when there was a brook here.
Do you know the condition or information as to the condition of that storm sewer?
Only for when I could see at the manholes when we opened up the manholes. We did not inspect the pipes themselves.
Do you know if those manholes overflow during storm events?
I haven't
You haven't. You don't know.
That.
Okay. Currently, where does the water from this site go?
It drains towards the east.
Towards the east, towards lot 1 in the back.
It's grading. The site grades from Genther Avenue towards the rear, which is to the east. And then it's traveling towards lot 1.
Or also maybe adjacent lot 6?
Well, it crosses other properties to get to lot 1, but that's correct.
Right. in the as-built condition, if this project is approved and developed, is that going to be the case in terms of how this site drains?
We would not be changing any of the drainage patterns from any of the other adjoining properties with the development.
And that's based on your review of this application?
Yes.
And the soil report?
No, that's based on my visiting the site, the topography of the site, and the topography of the adjoining properties.
You talk about the 100-year storm, right? And that you design these dry wells to contain stormwater runoff for the 100-year storm, correct?
Yes.
All right. Isn't it true that these dry wells were designed to contain stormwater runoff from only the 3-inch storm where the 100-year storm is over 8 inches?
That's incorrect.
Okay. And why is it incorrect, Mr. Holmes?
That's what you just stated.
Okay. You
just said that the 100-year storm is now, is that a 24-hour 100-year storm or a 1 hour 24-hour? I mean, 1 hour 100-year storm.
1 hour.
That's 3 inches.
Right. Okay. And what about 24-hour?
A 24-hour, that's a different program, and that would be 8 inches. But they're not the same in terms of, I can't explain it in terms of, I could explain in engineering terms, but we'd be here for a while. So layman's terms, they're the same.
Okay. So your testimony, your sworn testimony, is that the dry wells as presently designed address the increase in peak rate of runoff resulting from this development?
No, they reduce the rate of runoff from the development. They don't just do the peak rate of change. They're reducing the rate of runoff from the site.
And do the dry wells for the parking lot runoff, do they have, in essence, an overflow mechanism? What happens?
I explained before when the engineer asked me the question.
Right. If they overflow, it's going to be based on what's going on today. Is that what you said, I believe? No?
You asked me, just now you asked, do they have an overflow mechanism? And I answered yes, the same thing I described earlier to the engineer.
Describe it. So what is the overflow mechanism for the dry wells that are adjacent to the parking lot?
They are going to overflow back through the system and overflow through the open grate at the end of the parking lot.
And the dry wells currently, as designed, only address stormwater runoff from the roof and from the parking lot, correct?
Yes.
Right? They don't address the increase in runoff resulting from the conversion, for example, from woods to lawn, right?
No, we capture the runoff as it's flowing around the front of the building. There's a swale along the front of the building, and it sweeps around to the back of the seepage pits. It'll flow into those seepage pits.
And that's part of your design?
Yeah.
Part of calculations?
Yeah.
And do the dry wells also address the runoff from the patio and the walkways behind the building?
Well, the walkways on the side are going to flow to the parking lot. The patio is going to flow to the rear. I don't pick up that water right now.
It's just going to flow, what, does sheet flow to lot 1?
It'll sheet flow to the east. Immediately to our east.
Okay, and the dry wells that are, I guess, on the north side of the building, right? Northeast side of the building?
Left rear?
Yeah, which collect the runoff from the roof?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Those are designed with open grates, right?
Yes.
Okay, and they're going to collect surface runoff from the front yard and the side yard, right?
Yes.
Did the sizing of those dry wells consider the stormwater runoff from the front yard and the side yard?
I believe it did, but I'd have to look again.
Okay. And do the dry well location, and I may be wrong on this, and I apologize. The dry well location, there are dry well locations shown on the soils report map, correct?
I don't know.
Okay, so you don't know whether the dry well location shown on the soils report map is where the dry wells are shown on your plan, right?
Oh, no, that's not what you asked.
Well, I'm saying
You asked if the dry wells were shown on the soil report.
Correct.
And I don't know that.
you don't know, so you can't do a comparison because you don't know.
Oh, yes, I can.
You can?
Yes.
Okay, so even though you don't know whether the dry wells are shown on the soils report, you're saying that they're what? That they're consistent with where they're shown on your plan?
Now you got me confused on what you're asking.
Okay, I'm going to answer. I'm going to move on because
Okay.
you don't know. Was any soil testing completed where the proposed dry wells are shown on your site plan, Mr. Halls?
Yes.
And that's shown where? In the soils report?
Oh, I don't think so.
Where's it shown?
My notes that I was there.
Okay, does the board have any information to show that soil testing was completed where the dry wells are proposed?
I don't know if they do or not.
Is there any soil testing done by the proposed parking lot?
Yes.
Okay, and that's shown where?
Again, that might be my notes when I was there.
Okay, but so the board doesn't have that information to your knowledge, correct?
So to kind of carry this along, we'll stipulate that the reports we have from soil, which have been submitted to the town, we'll locate and explain that to the board, and it'll be on record if it's not there already.
I'm sorry, Mr. Whitaker, what do you mean? Like, in other words, is that going to be available for the public to review?
Certainly. Not a problem.
Great, thank you.
What Mr. Halls has testified to is that he was on site at the time these soil tests were done, to the point that he knows the locations of where the soil is. So he can certainly provide that to the borough engineer.
Okay, as long as it's made available for us to review, thank you. So I may wait then on some of these questions until I have an opportunity to review that information, because it will certainly limit the number of questions I will ask, likely. So I'll wait and reserve on that till I have that opportunity to review that. Did you consider, based on the soils, utilizing detention basins or bioretention basins to be utilized for stormwater management?
No, not the soil testing and the use of bioretention basins were not considered. No, I didn't answer that right. Bioretention basins were not considered because of the soil testing.
Because of the soil testing. What you said?
In other words, what I'm trying to say is I never considered bioretention basins because they wouldn't be useful in this location.
What about a different type of stormwater detention basin? They wouldn't be useful?
I could have designed a multitude of different systems. I could have put underground pipe detention system. I could have put a large concrete chamber. I could have put a host of different things. This is the system I chose to use.
Why did you choose the 4 dry well system as opposed to any of those types of systems?
I believe this is more efficient.
What do you mean by more efficient?
It means it's going to store more water in a smaller footprint.
And that's based on calculations that you submitted to the board?
Believe it or not, it's probably based on about 40 years of experience.
Okay. Anything else besides 40 years of experience, Mr. Halls?
I would hope that'd be enough.
I hope that would be enough.
Okay. Did you provide a maintenance manual for the dry wells yet?
No, it's not required.
So is that being, as part of this application, the applicant is not providing maintenance manuals for this dry wells?
We will not provide a maintenance manual for them.
So then how do those dry wells get maintained, Mr. Halls?
By inspection by the property owner.
Okay, and so what's the motivation for the property owner to conduct those inspections, sir?
To maintain their site in a functioning manner.
So if the neighbors have adverse water impacts because those dry wells are not properly inspected, maintained, repaired, cleaned out, that obligation is going to fall solely on the property owner?
Even if there was a maintenance manual, it would still be solely on the property owner.
Right. Maintenance manual recorded, right, provides an obligation for the property owner to clean it out a certain number of times a year, right? No?
No, it's not required, no.
Okay.
Maintenance manual is a recorded document, but there's no enforcement at the present time over the thing.
So just recorded and it just sits in the county clerk's office and that's it?
That's how it's functioning today, that's correct.
Okay. And there's no environmental impact report submitted or environmental impact statement stated as part of this application, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Did you conduct an analysis of the environmental impacts on the proposed developments?
You have to ask a more specific question.
Okay. What environmental impacts did you assess as part of your review of this project as the project engineer?
I look at, first off, I look at surrounding the available mapping to see if there's environmental concerns that may impact the development of the site. And then from there, we look at specifically with the design as the impacts on the surrounding property in terms of grading, the drainage, and visual impacts.
Okay, but you didn't submit a formal report to the board as to those impacts, correct?
No, there's no formal report.
Okay. And, I neglected to ask you, Dave, the cemetery, okay? Have you done any type of analysis, or let me back up, that's a bad question. Are you aware of anyone conducting any type of environmental analysis as to the impact of having a cemetery next door to this property, whether it's metals, contamination that's seeping toward this property, or otherwise?
No, and no. I believe you asked two questions in there, and my answer would be no to both of them.
What sort of tests did you perform to determine the flow of groundwater from this site off-site?
We don't do an analysis of the groundwater off-site. I did look at mounding analysis for the seepage pits, but there was no groundwater analysis.
You determined the depth of the groundwater water table with test pits, right?
They were borings.
Borings, and and those tests were conducted, how long ago?
Again, I'd have to look at the information.
Okay, and do you recall what the seasonal high water table is in the vicinity of this site?
There is one, yes.
What
It's on the area most in the building. I'd have to look at the plans again, but I believe that in the area of the building there wasn't a water table.
I'm sorry, Dave. There was or was not?
There was a water table encountered 15 feet, and the other one was 9, I think. But again, I'm saying I think. I'd have to look at the data specifically.
Okay. But you didn't dig any soil test pits like within adjacent properties?
Oh no, we didn't have permission to do that.
What?
We didn't have permission.
Right.
To do that.
Did you ask?
Why would we ask to go on a neighbor's property? I'm confused.
I'm going to ask it straight. Did you ask any neighbor to dig any soil test pit to determine whether a seasonal high water table exists on adjacent properties? Yes or no?
I would never ask that question. So that I would, with the development, I would never ask that question.
And you said you did provide perform a groundwater mounding analysis?
And when I did the calculations, yes.
Okay. Has that been submitted to the board?
No, it's not required.
When you say it's not required by whom?
It's not in the code required for the stormwater analysis. So I did not provide it.
Okay. And your proposed stormwater management system does not contemplate the use of any type of green infrastructure, correct?
Asked and answered. Let's move on.
Can you answer the question? It wasn't asked.
He asked it earlier.
I think it's been asked previously.
Did he? Is there any green?
He did not.
Okay. And with regard to the parking, you didn't conduct any type of studies to determine number of visitors during the day, number of residents during the day, peak hour or otherwise, correct?
I did not do any physical counts.
And you didn't do any type of evaluation of parking on Genther Avenue or Brookside, correct?
Only my visual observations that I made on all the occasions I was
Okay,
in.
did you record this visual observation?
No.
And you didn't conduct any type of parking counts at similar developments, whether they're in the R4 zone or elsewhere, whether in Oradell or in surrounding communities, correct? For a group home, right, with 2 apartments on top?
You're asking me, did I do any specific counts at any of them?
Yeah.
Any other group homes? The
Correct.
answer is no.
Okay. So the ordinance requires 1 parking space for each proposed resident and staff member, correct?
Which ordinance? You're talking about the
borough's ordinance.
The borough's ordinance?
Correct.
In this case, this is a residential development, and so the residential site improvement standards would be the standard that would be used.
You believe that conditional use standards that are in the Borough of Oradell's ordinance can be ignored based on what you believe to be RSIS, or Residential Site Improvement Standards?
I'm going to object to the question. It calls for a legal conclusion. I'll ask board counsel later.
It absolutely does. It does call for a legal conclusion.
Right. And on the basis of that, I'll let the board counsel advise the board as to what standard we have to follow. We've already been told we have to follow the RSIS standard.
We agree.
So
we're going down another path that becomes a
No, well,
filibuster.
Mr. Whitaker, we're not going down another path. We're just talking about what's in the ordinance, and I'm asking Mr. Halls, and I believe what he's going to answer is that he did not consider the conditional use standards that are in the borough's ordinance for a group home in determining the number of parking spaces for this project. Is that true, Mr. Halls?
That is true. I use the residential site improvement standards.
And did you do any type of evaluation as to how many staff are going to be on site at any time?
Did I personally do it? No, I did not.
So do you have any idea what the staff demand is for either the first floor use or the second floor use?
I have experience with the Bergen County United Way's other projects and the staffing that they have at the other sites and their other group homes, and what we're proposing is in line, or we actually have a couple more, at least 1 more parking space, possibly 2 more than what we have in other locations.
Let's break that down. So have you done any evaluation at any parking evaluation?
You asked me before.
I know, and you said no.
That's
Dave,
correct.
you
That's
said
right.
no, and then you just answered based on my evaluation of other sites, there's sufficient parking. Is what you're saying that this is the parking that you've provided at other sites?
It's similar to what we've provided other sites.
Okay, when you say similar, what does that mean?
I mean, we're adding 2 extra parking spaces than we normally have with a 4-bedroom group home and 2 residential apartments above.
Okay, and what other sites are you referring to?
We did a similar development like this in Wyckoff.
Do you remember the address?
I know where it is.
What street's it on? If you remember.
I'm thinking.
That's okay.
No. It's in the Triangle District of Wyckoff. My brain's not working. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Any other sites besides the Wyckoff site?
They've done other group homes in Mawa.
That you were part of that design team?
Yes.
Do you remember where that was?
One's
okay
on
if you don't.
Church Street, one's on Mountain, maybe?
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. There's some others in there. And I'm
Right. But you have not, as an engineer or a planner for that effect, done any as-built evaluations of staff members parking at any of those facilities.
This really
correct?
is getting into planning now. Not
No, Bob, I understand that, but I just want to finish the topic because he said, oh yeah, I did this based on, I said, well, how do you know about the staffing? Oh, I did it based on other sites. And I just want to make it clear that Mr. Halls has not done any type of parking evaluation by, in this case, staff members at any of those sites.
Well, we had extensive testimony on May 20th from Mr. Toronto about staffing. And your colleague, your associate, was here and had
Ask
the
questions.
opportunity to question him.
I'm well aware of that. I'm asking Mr. Halls, because he's the one who designed this site with the number of parking spaces. I'm asking him if he did any type of evaluation of the number of staff members. And he said, well, based on other sites. Well, I said, I'm asking him, does he have any experience doing an evaluation as built of the use of those parking areas by any staff members? I assume the answer is no.
I have not done any specific counts at any other sites.
Okay.
To cut it to the quick, we're stipulating that we're meeting all the RSIS requirements for this particular type of use. In fact, the testimony has been that we exceed. And there's been testimony the board has heard before you were here, Mr. Simon, but I trust your colleague told you, in which Mr. Toronto, who is well-versed in these type of facilities for years, testified as to the amount of parking they need on a site like this, and that what was shown here, and you find it in testimony, exceeds what they believe would ever be required.
All I'm asking is whether Mr. Halls did any type of
We agree.
evaluation.
Mr. Halls didn't
and
do
the
an
answer is no.
evaluation.
Okay.
Let's move on.
All right. Are there sidewalks in this neighborhood, Mr. Halls?
There are not.
And does the number of parking spaces take into account, guests and deliveries and?
Yes.
It does. Okay. And what's that based on?
The RSIS. The number of parking spaces required includes the parking, the visitor parking spaces.
Did you provide turning templates, because I didn't see them, for fire trucks, emergency vehicles?
Fire trucks and emergency vehicles. Fire trucks would not turn into the development to fight a fire. What they'd do is they'd pull in onto Genther Avenue and they'd fight the fire from Genther Avenue. They would not be able to, they could pull a fire truck in there, but if the entire building caught fire, they might lose a fire truck, so they wouldn't put a fire truck that close to a fire. In terms of emergency vehicle, a police car or ambulance could pull into the site to pull into the driveway, and then they would have to back out of the location.
Because of the parking of the vehicles that were there already. Right?
No, because the drive aisle wouldn't be wide enough to make a K-turn and come out.
Right. Even if there's no cars there.
Well, I guess they could, but they're not going to. They're going to back out.
Okay. Did you do any type of evaluation of adequate sight distance for cars making a left onto Genther as cars were coming around on Brookside?
I did.
Okay. And
I provided that information in my testimony, I believe, last time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was adequate sight distance both in the both directions.
Both. Okay. Good. Thank you. Okay. And in terms of the trees, I know there were some questions earlier this evening about tree removal. With regard to the number of trees that need to be provided to be replaced, it's 35 and only 18 are being proposed?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there a reason why more trees aren't being proposed for buffering or other purposes?
Physically, what will happen is we could plant the trees. We could plant them all on the site. What will happen in a short period of time, within 10 years, a lot of those replacement trees would die because the trees would be planted too close together and they wouldn't survive. Or you'd end up with just sticks and very little leaf or branches on them. Trees need an adequate area to grow and to thrive, and what we're providing is probably, even at the 18 trees we're providing, we probably are providing too many trees on the site.
You're saying too many trees on the site at 18 because they're not going to have enough room to grow?
That is correct.
Okay. And of the 18 trees that you're planting on the site that not all are going to have room to grow, how many of the 18 won't have room to grow? Based on your review of your plan, your landscaping.
How many will?
Yeah, how many trees of the 18 that you're proposing to be planted as replacement trees, you're testifying will not survive?
I don't know that. We'll have to see.
We have stipulated that we will plant the trees that either the engineer or your Shade Tree Commission requests on the site. And as far as the balance of the trees that may be required under the ordinance, we will review that with the property owner, which is
the property owner being the borough,
being the mayor and council.
Okay. Do you need have you requested relief from this board regarding not providing enough replacement trees?
There's no request that has to be made formally.
No. With regard to Dave, there were, and I don't know if this plan is the right plan for it, but my recollection is, yeah, there's three trees, existing trees, that have DBHs or diameter breast heights that are, I believe, greater than 10 inches in that corner there that are going to be in an area of grading. Is that accurate? I'm talking, Dave, I apologize, northeast corner.
I was going to say, you should not, when you give testimony, you shouldn't just say over there.
I said northeast corner. I corrected myself. I can't be right all the time. The three trees in the northeast corner.
Okay.
On your, excuse me.
My grading plan?
No. On sheet 3 of 6. Last revision date of March 28th. You have 3 trees that are not going to be removed, but it appears that those trees are within an area of grading or regrading. And so how do we know that those trees are going to survive? And the reason why I'm asking is that they're pretty significant trees in terms of DBH.
We're going to do the best we can to keep the trees.
Okay. And what happens if you can't do the best, despite you doing the best you can, that they don't make it because of grading or soil compaction or otherwise? Root systems being disturbed more than 1/3, et cetera.
It's possible. They could have a sun scald. They could have all sorts of things. They could pass away. That's correct.
Right. And does the applicant intend to provide replacements? I'm pointing out those 3 trees in the northeast corner because it's right by where there's some regrading being done.
We'd be required to if the trees were to die during the course of this.
Part of the approved plan.
Part of the approved plan. Hornbook.
Okay. Do you have a irrigation system for the trees that you're planting?
Most likely there'll be an irrigation system, but we did not put that on the plan.
Okay. Did you do an evaluation of any trees on immediately adjacent properties that might be impacted by your grading activities on your property?
I don't believe there are any.
Okay.
But I don't remember when I walked the site and walked the property lines that I saw any trees that were in close proximity to the line.
Okay, just want to check. Just give me a minute just to see if... I'm getting there. Did you do any evaluation as to any of the trees that are intended to be preserved as to whether any are currently dead, diseased, or dying?
If I did, they didn't make my notes. So I don't recall that I remember any that are not marked to be removed on the plans.
And with regard to lighting, did you do a point-to-point, because I didn't see it, foot candle measurement?
Did not.
You did not?
No.
On any part of the property, whether it's on the parking lot side or on the, which is on the south side or on the north side, correct?
No, I show what the ISO foot candle curve would be for the light, but I didn't superimpose it on the lights because they're such low to the ground lights.
Well, when you say low to the ground lights, what are we talking about? I mean, do you know what the minimum maximum is going to be in the parking lot?
Oh, there's the minimum max in the parking lot is going to be 0. Because we're only attempting to light up the walkway. We're not even trying to attempt to light up the parking lot.
Right, so there's going to be no lights in the parking lot.
That's correct.
That's the testimony that
I
was elicited
understand.
at the last meeting.
I got it. Okay.
And I'm going to go back to answer your question. I do have the ISO foot candle curves shown for the lights.
Where's that?
There, it's on the lighting plan, sheet 3 of 6.
I don't.
If you had a full-size plan, you could see it.
Yeah, I don't see it.
They're not much.
Okay. I'll follow up with Bruce if I need to look at that. You talked about the number of the soil that's going to be brought into the site, the 25 truckloads, right? Where's the soil being stockpiled during construction activities?
On the site with 25 truckloads, they'd probably dump it right on the location they need it.
Okay, so not necessarily a north side or south side, just...
They're going to, when they bring the material in, they'll put it where they need it. It's such a small amount.
Mm-hmm. And do you know where equipment's going to be staged?
Not at this time.
Okay. Just give me a minute, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your indulgence. Just give me make sure I don't have any other questions. We talked about that. When you said you talked, and I know you gave some testimony last time about the site distance, right? The width of Genther is only like 25 feet, right? I mean, that's how I scaled it from your plan.
Don't 24 feet.
24 feet. Okay. So the width of Genther is 24 feet, and cars can be parked on either side of the street?
Can't answer. I don't remember the park, if there's parking restrictions on the street.
So did your site distance analysis take into account cars parked, assuming that cars can be parked on both sides of the street, whether under those conditions there's adequate site distance?
That would actually improve the site distance.
If there's cars parked on either side of the street?
The traveling car would be in the middle of the street then.
Okay. And would the traveling car on either side of the street have two-way traffic?
No.
No?
No, it's only 24 feet wide. The car is 9 feet or 8 feet wide. No, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Halls. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Do you have any redirect based upon the
I would
question?
redirect after any other questions by any other members of the public are asked.
We're going to open up to the public for questions of the witness. Hold on a second. I would ask that you consider that you've already heard a number of questions, so please don't ask them again. So the members of the public who are asking questions, first show of hands, and then, be judicious in the questions you ask. Ms. Latunas, if you would come up, state your name and address.
Paul Atsunis. I've lived in this town for 45 years.
Address, please.
At 50 Beverly Road.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. Did the town access or provide you with the town arborist in the counting of the trees on the property?
No, I did that myself.
So you actually counted all the trees yourself, right?
Yeah.
And can you tell me how many trees you actually counted?
I did write it down. I think I provided it someplace. Oh, actually, I only told you how many trees we're removing, correct? Oh, no, there's 34 existing trees on the site.
Did you count every single tree? There's some trees that are very small trees, right?
If it's less than 8-inch in diameter, did not count it.
Oh, okay. So if they're like 5 inches or 6 inches, they don't count, right?
That's correct.
Well, I counted them.
Well, that's by ordinance, so we did what we did.
I went there, I counted them.
Chairman, objection, can't testify.
You can ask questions.
I did count them.
Yeah, that's
It's
great.
the truth.
You cannot at this time make a statement. You ask only questions.
Okay. All right. Did you have an arborist? An arborist was not there at the counting, right?
Objection, asked and answered already. We need to move on.
Okay. I just want to clarify it, that's all. So you're the only person that counted them. Was there anyone else there with you when you counted?
Objection, irrelevant. He's testified that he counted the trees. Let's move
I mean,
on.
is there another witness? Is there another witness?
There's no reason for him to have a witness, but he's given you the testimony. Whether there was a witness or not, it has no relevance to his testimony.
Okay. I'll go on to something else then. Have you ever observed the 4-foot surge of water flow that comes out on Kinderkamak Road and goes down to Brookside to Genther Avenue? Have you observed that?
Objection that it even exists. We have no basis or foundation for this.
And we're not dealing with a condition that's on
Right, but dealing with the conditions on
remotely
the site.
close to the property.
Right.
So you never did?
He's saying that there's no reason for him to answer the
Irrelevant.
question.
Well, you're objecting to it, so that means that you never did.
I'm objecting because you're irrelevant. Move on.
No, it's not irrelevant.
The objection sustained.
Yeah, hold on.
Next
It's
question.
not irrelevant because it does exist.
Excuse me. Do not enter into an argument.
Well, he's arguing with me.
Hold on. You ask a question. If the question is ruled out of order, move on. Don't explain to us why we're wrong.
Okay, so, Chairman, after this questioning, I will be able to make the statements?
At the end of the hearing, when he has finished his case, you will be able to make your statement.
When the entire case is
The
finished?
entire case, not tonight.
So my questions are
Irrelevant.
Irrelevant. Irrelevant. You're saying that my questions are irrelevant. Well, I differ to you. And in my 45 years...
You're making a statement, please.
Well, I'm not finished yet.
No, it sounds...
Please. Yes, he is.
Is there a question?
The question is, have you ever seen anything? You said that you've been here for 40 years. And you're telling me that you've never seen anything happen as far as a surge on Kinderkamak Road?
Asked and answered.
Yes or no?
No.
Next question.
You've already asked that question, and it's already been answered.
And what was the answer?
Please go back and check the record.
No.
There was an objection, and the objection was sustained.
That was
It was an objection. It wasn't an answer.
Well, that's what you got.
Yes.
Do you have anything further, or would you like to?
No, sir.
Please sit down.
Thank you.
Please, come up. State your name and address, please.
Hi, Kelly Castro, 521 Mildred Place. My question is about the parking. I know it came up during the questioning. You guys have 8 parking spaces, is that correct?
Yeah.
And there are how many residents in the home? 7, I believe.
So they have, there'd be 4, 5, 6, 7, at least. They could have, I guess they could have 7, maybe 8 residents.
And generally speaking, in a home of this sort, do all of the residents drive? Do they
No,
have their own
we
car?
had this testimony by Mr. Toronto. It's not testimony.
That's
that
right, I
came
thought. So you don't use all 8. So
Mr. Halls.
So the street parking is oftentimes not utilized because the parking lot space.
Oh, no, what I was,
No, I think that's great.
yeah, we're trying to, we added additional parking spaces because of the narrowness of the road, and we didn't want to park additional cars on the street. So we added the additional parking in the parking lot.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the public? Not seeing of show and tell, we will close it to the public, but sir, you have redirect, if you want to redirect.
Yes, just a few questions. Mr. Halls, am I correct in saying that, in your professional opinion as a civil engineer with many years of experience, that the drainage system you have designed will meet all of the required standards by borough ordinance and anything that would be relevant to state standards?
Yes.
Is it my understanding that if there was any modifications that would be needed to the drainage system, as proposed by the drainage consultant or the engineer for the borough of Oradell, that you could comply with those kind of conditions?
Yes, we could.
In connection with the soil analysis that was conducted, am I understanding it that you took that soil analysis and determined that where the drainage facilities are going to be proposed, that the soil will accommodate what you're proposing from a drainage standpoint?
Yes, that's correct.
In connection with the soil movement that is being proposed, we have stipulated, am I correct, that it will meet all the required conditions under the soil movement ordinance of the borough of Oradell?
That is correct.
And is understood in connection with the landscaping and the trees that are proposed as far as location is concerned, we've stipulated that if the borough engineer requires them to be located in areas other than where you propose, that we can conform to that.
Yes.
That's all my questions.
Thank you. Something came to mind as listening to the testimony, other questions from council. It concerns flooding, the impact of a 100-year storm. What is currently there now? What kind of impact does the rain have on your property and the neighbor's property? And if you receive approval on your application, what will be the impact of a 100-year storm on your neighbor's property?
From our site?
Yes, from your site.
Our site would adequately collect the runoff from the proposed building and the parking area and the walkway, and we would capture that water, and we would have less runoff from our site than currently exists today. However, it's unmeasurable. You know, it's right now it's spread out, and in the future it'll be spread out, and you wouldn't be able to tell where the water, you know, how the water was coming off. But we would be mathematically, we would be reduction from what it currently is today.
So to put it in my words, if I'm understanding your answer, that actually you will be improving the situation as exists now, that there'll be actually less water that will flow onto your neighbor's property if this is approved.
There actually will be a substantial reduction in the water, but no one will be able to tell because of the the way the water runs off the property. So there is a substantial improvement with this with the improvements.
So to the extent that neighbors now have runoff from wherever coming onto their property, when this is built, it'll actually be less.
It won't be coming from this site.
All right, so maybe it won't be less, but the site will not have a negative impact on.
That is correct.
And that is your testimony?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I guess we've covered that. Does any other member have that?
Can I just ask one other question?
Please.
In part of that analysis, because, I mean, it is at the lower end of a hill, did the borough or the site people look at all of upgrading where the existing sewer system, where they already have an easement through the property to drain X amount of water, I assume, from the city, from the town's sewer system and everything else, but did they look at upgrading that also as part of this?
That was not part of what I was instructed to
That's a town issue.
look at. All I can say is that we specifically look at the location of where the existing sewer and storm and water and such, and we make sure that we're not going to impact any of that. Last thing we want to do is cause a development which may cause a condition that would make the system worse. So,
okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I have another question.
Sure, go ahead.
That's okay. So, I should say two of the variances, the side yard and the coverage variances, my understanding that they're bulk variances. And could you walk us through how you feel like your plan meets the requirements of those variances? What I mean by that is my understanding, not being a lawyer though, my understanding is that variance could be granted in those situations if there's some irregularity with the size of the property or the width of the property, the narrowness of the property. But maybe just walk us through how you believe that the application has met the requirements of those variances that you're seeking?
Yeah, that testimony has not been given by Mr. Halls yet. That will be elicited from him when we give planning testimony. So it was not I'm not trying to modify our presentation other than to say all we wanted to testify to first is a civil engineer. The question you asked is a very relevant question. It will be addressed by Mr. Halls in his capacity as a planner.
Okay.
So that would be at the next meeting, because I've learned that at 10:15 at night, you don't start planning testimony.
I was about to say that we've got about 25 minutes if you want to use it, but I'm taking you don't want to use that 25 minutes.
No.
Okay. In that case, we will continue this matter till September 16th at 7:30 p.m. There's no need for further notice.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, and with that, anyone who wishes to leave, we're going to continue the board meeting. Please do so quietly because we do have to continue it, but you're certainly welcome to stay and listen to all that we have to say. We love having you. But if you do want to leave, please do so quietly. Okay. Old business. Does any member of the board have any old business? No? All right, do you want to let them know we're available to have them back?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Once again, we're checking if we have any old business. You got any old business on this? No? All right, then, new business. I've got a few things to say about that. There is a proposal, a consideration, not really a proposal, whether to go to a combined board. This was something that the borough considered about 12 years ago, and just considered it, did not act other than, well, whatever. I'd like to first address what a combined board is, because it has a connotation in the name that it sounds as if you're taking the planning board and the zoning board and combining them, membership and all. It's not. Here is what happens. The zoning board is voted out of existence. Its responsibilities, duties, everything that the zoning board handles is transferred to the planning board. The planning board remains intact, and they now have all of that. So the combined board refers to the fact that the planning board now has the combined responsibilities of the zoning board and the planning board. This can happen. Here in Bergen County, there are 78 municipalities. 20 of those municipalities have combined boards. If you take a look at it, most of those 20 are really smaller than Oradell, but not all. There are boroughs that are comparable to Oradell, perhaps some even larger. Notable, River Edge would be a borough that has a combined board. Once a borough chooses to have the combined board, it's basically locked itself into that. It would be as if you take yourself, put yourself in a room, lock the door, destroy the key, so you can't get out. And the only way anyone can get in and try and free you from that locked door is to have a question on a ballot. And all members of the public vote whether or not you want to go back. So, if it turns out this wasn't such a good idea, you're asking the public to decide to go back to the two boards. You put it as a ballot question, and folks say, do I want to have more government? I know, frankly, if I saw that question without having the experience I've had on this board, I'd say no. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't happen. It's just, again, you lock yourself in a room, destroy the key, and then you depend on all members of the public to decide whether you can get out of that room. All right. Now, as for the wisdom of doing this, from the discussions 12 years ago, there are basically two big reasons for doing this. One would be there's not enough work to occupy the time of two boards. Another would be you can't get a sufficient number of volunteers to take positions on those two boards. Well, we have a full board. The planning board is full. I don't think that really is a problem in terms of populating the boards. In terms of the workload, frankly, workload on a governmental body is not like a conveyor belt that has a nice even flow of work. It just doesn't happen. There's an ebb and flow. We're very busy. The planning board apparently is not. But the planning board has it's the superior land use board, by the way. I don't mind saying that. I wish we were superior, but we're not. It's the planning board that's the superior board. Their role is, as the name says, planning for the future. They have the master plan. They're the ones who develop the master plan. They're the ones who look at subdivisions. There's a lot that's going on. Now, you'd say, well, it's a mature borough. There's really not much planning to do. We're coming on the next round of fair share housing. There's going to be an enormous amount of work that's going to have to be done. Developers will be looking at this. Take a look at any of the boroughs. Go up and down Kindercomack Road and take a look at the developments that you see. Not in Oradell. Elsewhere, even in our neighbor River Edge, they've got a development on Kindercomack Road on the eastern side. I see that and I wonder, where in Oradell are we going to put that? Would we put it by the White Beaches Club and there's a section there? Would we put it on Kindercomack? Would we put it by the swim club? Would we put it next to the swim club? Would we put it in Memorial Field? Think of that. That takes a lot of planning and it takes a lot of work. And when you look at the boards, the planning board is appointed entirely by the mayor. There is no requirement for the council to say yes or no on that. Obviously, I'm sure they give him advice on that, and all future mayors as well. The zoning board is populated entirely by residents of the borough, nominated by the mayor, but subject to the approval of the council. So you don't have one person deciding our board. you do have one person deciding the planning board. Get rid of the zoning board, and you have one person deciding municipal land use law throughout the borough. Now, I've served under 4 mayors, and I think they're all well-qualified, competent, and honorable individuals, and I have no question that they would do what's right for Oradell. Can't say that'll happen for the future. You know, this is New Jersey, and we've seen things happen in New Jersey among elected officials that may not always be the best. I like the idea of having a separation of authority. I think that that's important for the functioning of government, that there be a separation of authority. If both boards had nothing to do, or you couldn't get people to volunteer, it might make sense. But I don't really see the crying need for it now. There may be it. You know, I'm human. I make a mistake. I'm not trying to protect my own position because I'm in my 20th year on this board. My term of office ends at the end of this year, and I have no availability to continue. December 31st, I'm out of the business, so I'm not trying to protect myself. I am offering thoughts on what I believe is best for the borough, and I believe that the municipal land use law provides a zoning board and a planning board. They have distinct responsibilities. You can combine it again. When you look at the municipal land use law, they design it more for smaller municipalities, but it can be for anybody. So it's entirely up to the mayor and council to determine whether they would want to do it. I'm just offering my thoughts that I believe that the way it exists now in the borough of Oradell is best for the borough of Oradell, and I don't think we would be served well by eliminating the zoning board and giving its responsibilities to the planning board. Having said that, I appreciate it if anyone from the... Yeah.
Can I just make a question about that? Of the municipalities that have gone to a combined board versus ones that operate separately, is there any statistics on how many court cases and challenges where these boards rule and they wind up more in court over this thing?
I don't think there's any difference. And in the interest of full disclosure, I represent 3 municipalities that have combined boards.
Combined boards, yeah.
I'll give you the combined boards in the borough, in the county of Bergen. Allendale, Bogota, Dumont, Emerson, Englewood Cliffs, Hasbrook Heights, Hillsdale, Leonia, Little Ferry, Maywood, Montvale, Moonachie, Northvale, Old Tappan, River Edge, Rivervale, Rockley, Teterboro, Woodridge, and Woodcliff Lake.
I left one off, Marvin, and it's new. Norwood is combined.
Oh, okay. Norwood was not on my list. So
that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
When I started in Norwood, it was probably around 2003.
Yeah.
At that time, it was a combined board. They decided to unmerge them. They had the referendum that the chairman referred to. And when they did that, I said, this will never pass. Never. And it passed 2-1. Shows you why the sentiment of the community in my mind. Right?
To downsize government.
Then they decided to unmerge them, and it passed. But then they went back to a combined board after they unmerged.
Can't make up their mind.
So they were combined,
I mean,
uncombined, and then combined again, which is where they are now.
Okay, so that makes it, that makes it 21 out of 68 municipalities. Yeah,
well, I don't think there's any difference between, in terms of litigation.
Yeah, I think the other point that was made is that with one person making the appointments.
Marvin's right about that. The planning board, when it's a combined board, the council gets the class 3. That's it.
Yeah,
the class 1's the mayor, class 2's another borough official appointed by the mayor, and the other members are class 4, all appointed by the mayor.
And again, the mayor and council has to do a better job of keeping the townspeople informed of what's going on at the state level too.
Yeah.
Because that's why, part of these things are re-questions that are really for the mayor and council.
Well, October
and not
20th is coming.
Yeah, and
It'll be a day of infamy.
Right, and I will state that as we look, as we look down the road, that's another thing with ebb and flow. you can't really plan for the past or for the present. You plan for the
Learn from
future.
it, though.
What is on the pipeline? What do we expect for the borough? I mean, we've got Kinderkamack Road is a beautiful street. It's a nice thoroughfare. I would imagine, just a guess, but I would imagine we've got developers looking at it saying, Oradell has fair share housing requirement, and I can meet it. And I would like to have residents, not just borough employees and elected officials, but I'd like to have residents, which is this board, look at it as well. You know, we're going to be required to do what's required, period. You know, we can't just say, yeah, there's a fair share agreement, but let's ignore it. No, it has to be done. But it should be done intelligently. And I like the idea of having borough residents participating in those decisions, not just elected officials and borough employees, and then a few residents. Residents do not make up the majority of the planning board. So, again, I'm not trying to protect my position, because I don't have one by the time they do this. I believe this would protect the borough.
Planning board members could be non-residents?
No. They have to be residents, but it's not a they are
Class
not a
2 member can be non-resident, like a
Oh, I'm
construction
sorry.
official or
okay.
Yeah,
administrative.
Oh, really, what I'm saying is residents like us make up a minority on the board.
Oh.
You have the mayor, a member of the council, borough employees.
Borough official.
One borough official, yes, and then some residents. Whereas this board has all residents, and we cannot be employed by the borough. There are certain restrictions for being a member of the zoning board that really lends itself to us considering what's best for the borough outside of having to negotiate these deals as well. So
If the only office a member of the zoning board could hold would be a planning board member or a member of the Board of Education.
Or isn't the historical committee also something like that?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah, there was something, but nothing of consequence.
Chairman, I have
Yes.
a question for Mr. Brady. The municipalities that you have that are combined, you know the reasons why they combined? Was it lack of volunteers? Was it a lack of work?
I think it was more a lack of work. Although, for example, Montvale is extremely busy, and they've always been busy, so it really has.
Is your mic turned on?
Mine was off.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I don't think it was for either reason. I explained what happened in Norwood.
And why did they go back? Well, I was going to question, why did Norwood go back?
There wasn't a lot going on. The planning board in Norwood, now we have a big hearing coming up right after Labor Day. We've had one meeting this year, and it's a combined board.
Wow. Did you find in the boards that you that were combined, the volunteers or the board members, did they move out quickly, or did they stay on the board for a while?
They stayed. My chairman in Montvale has been, I started in 1993, he's been chair since then. He was on the board when he was a councilman in the 70s. That's how long he's been on the board.
Now, do they usually have 2 meetings a month, or?
Montvale normally does too.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if you
actually,
know what Montvale, you've seen the development we've had.
Absolutely.
Actually, that's another thing to consider. As the planning board becomes busy with master plans, and they have other responsibilities, certainly looking at ordinances, and they handle all of the work that we do as well, the meeting 2 times a month, perhaps 3 times a month, that's a lot to ask from citizen volunteers. So,
And we've been pretty busy the past 3 years. We've had some pretty big applications.
Was a big application.
We got some big applications coming forward, too.
yeah, and it's not going to stop. You know, with the fair share housing and the developers looking at Oradell, this is not going to stop.
And it would seem to me that the setup that we currently have, planning and zoning, it seems like better governance to me for the reasons that you just described. And as I think about the things that are important to people, quality of life issues in this town, I think about, housing, zoning, all of these things that we deal with, are very important to people. So if there's enough work to be done, it seems to me that there currently is enough work, and it sounds like there's a pipeline. It just, first blush to me, wouldn't make sense to change it.
That was my assessment as well.
Yeah.
And again, to not overstate it, because I don't think you can, I believe in the separation of responsibilities. CPAs, they do just that very well.
Yep.
It just makes a lot of sense on something this important to have people working in their areas of expertise without combining it so there's really no checks and balances. I like checks and balances. Okay, does anybody have any else? No? Open it to the public. State your name and address, please.
Paul Tsunis, 50 Beverly Road. I like checks and balances also.
Okay.
And I think that with affordable housing coming up, I would like to have more people participating than less people. And I think that we should keep it the way it is because of that. And I know there's going to be a lot of things coming up. And the note I made here, let me see what I said here. About the history of that we always had two boards. Now, we tried to do it to, I think it was 2012, to split it. And we went through a whole thing about it. And we know that we didn't want it then. So why should we want it now? And I think we're going to have a lot of work to do with affordable housing and with everything else coming up. And I think that the planning board does a good job, and I think you guys also do a good job. And I think we need everybody. The more people we have involved, the better it is. And then the public, like myself, I like to come and comment. I watch everything. I would like to comment on things. And I think that would limit me also.
Okay, well,
if
please,
I did that. And I thank you
I know
for...
you attend the mayor and council meeting.
I do.
Express yourself there.
I do.
Because they're the ones who are going to
I go to all the meetings, as you know.
Yeah, but they're the ones who make the decision. We serve, we don't decide.
Right, exactly. Anyway, thank you for everything, and let's keep it going.
Does anybody else have any new business? And that's it. We've got open to public. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I will so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, it is 10:34.
It began for us when one of our brothers quite rightly lowered an American flag to half-mast. No one since then has mentioned the rightness of his act. It followed with an unprovoked charge of the pigs into